ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
PACE, Police Athletics for Community Engagement Organization, is dedicated to preventing at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children from becoming involved in street gangs, crime, drug use, and victimization. PACE provides an opportunity to develop discipline, self-esteem, and positive moral values through wholesome competition and free participation in soccer, baseball, CrossFit, and flag football. To help PACE and local families make sure kids have access to safe and fun spring and summer activities, please go to paceomaha.org to support the PACE mission. Thank you.
1620 The Zone.
As the Kraken win the draw, get it out to center. Tapped in, rolls on Ottinger. He'll keep it going with the stick and then lifted out by Dallas. 4:05 and counting. Giveaway. Here's Hintz. He's in. He scores! Roope Hintz! Late in the second period, it's Hintz who draws first blood in Game 7. Off of Tolvanen into the Dallas zone. Thomas Harley is there. And now Handley. Alexiak kept it in the zone for Seattle. Puck underneath the Stars end line. Worked over to Dodonov. He'll flip it all the way down the ice. First to it is Wyatt Johnston. And a backhand. He scores! Oh my. What a shot! What a shot! Wyatt Johnston upstairs. And with 7:12 left in the third period, how big is that? Makes it a 2-0 lead.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
How do you not blow out his vocal cords when he did that?
It just, my throat hurts every time I hear that. Good Tuesday morning to everybody out there in the fine city of Omaha. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley, Jimmy Chavez as well. Good morning to Wyatt Johnston. That goal that you heard there in the open, the goal that put Dallas up 2-0 was stupid good. Short side, off the side of the helmet. That was tight.
Yeah,
that was tight.
Rookie,
too, by the way.
Poor Grubauer, who was having a great game, and it was right after they said he's becoming a story that then he gives up the first goal, but he kind of looked up after the first one and just was, yep, that might be it. And he almost looked like he felt like he was at fault. No, it's just bad luck. It's off the dude's helmet. Like,
see, Jimmy's dialed in on puck. We could talk some puck for 4 hours if you would like. We could talk puck. You want to talk some puck? Let's talk.
I don't know
puck.
if our listeners would.
I know.
Then again, it might provide a welcome distraction for them, for the few of them that are surprised because what happened yesterday.
Today is moving on day. Today is acceptance.
We kind of got everyone primed up. Yeah. Although I think collectively people already were.
I think they were, and I think yesterday,
Get it over with.
One Dan Orlovsky also sort of made the bed for all of us to the acceptance bed that Dylan Raiola most likely was not going to be making his way to Nebraska. It became official. We will get into that, but a very good morning to you. That's Jimmy. I'm Nick. Gary's still not with us this week, and again, if you were not with us yesterday, Gary is going to be out for some time. Days we're not sure, but mourning the passing of his mother that we found out on Friday. So again, our thoughts and prayers are with our good friend Gary Sharp, and he will be back when he's back. When he's back. So that's what's happening there. So the big story, and is it a big story? But it's closure. It's getting the official word, and that is 5-star 2024 quarterback recruit Dylan Raiola, son of the Dahmer, Dominic Raiola, nephew of Nebraska offensive line coach Donovan Raiola. At one point, and our friend Mike Schaefer, who I don't think was alone in the thought, Schaefer was, I thought, brave enough to put it out in public that he felt Nebraska at one point had the best shot of landing Dylan Raiola. And I think there are other people that were unwilling to go on the record that were entertaining the same idea. But as Schaefer dubbed it very correctly last Friday, the Raiola coaster continued to go up and down, around and loop-de-loop. Gary said it at the beginning of this thing all the way back in January. This thing is going to be a ride. It's going to be a roller coaster. So just take the information as you may. Do with it, process it however you would like. But this thing, just when you think it might be going one direction, could be going another direction. Well,
it finally went the final direction.
And it really seemed like it was going that direction for a while. So I think yesterday's official news that Dylan Raiola has officially committed to Georgia, I think was sort of the punctuation on what we already kind of knew was going to be the case. And as much as maybe some people, I don't think many of you should be or are surprised or just overly discouraged by what happened, there's a team out in Southern Cal as well that felt like at one point they had a pretty good shot at him too with USC. And I cannot help but to look at the entire recruiting efforts by Matt Rule and his coaching staff and applaud them. I really can't, because think of the teams that were in the mix, that were legitimately in the mix for Dylan Raiola. The team who ultimately landed him in Georgia, well, they've only gone back-to-back natties. They've had a bit of a history of getting dudes in the league, whether it be quarterback.
So they'll be picked to go 8-4 next year. Is that what they're going to say?
No, don't start chips. Don't give Kirby Smart ammo, man. Just don't do that. I mean, I'd like 8-4 for the college football program that I root for, but 8-4 in Athens would not maybe be a welcome sight. But yeah, I get it. They haven't been putting guys of the caliber of Matthew Stafford in the league, but I mean, hell, even Aaron Murray was going to the league. You know, they're putting guys in the league. They're competing at the highest level. Some in SEC territory would have you believe that Georgia is now the new Alabama as far as the run that they're on. There is a mountain of reasons why Georgia would be an extremely attractive landing spot for any highly rated recruit. Then you've got USC and Lincoln Riley. All he does is put a magic touch on quarterbacks, and they win Heisman trophies. They put up video game numbers, and they go on to the league too. And yes, they have won more than Nebraska. And it's a very exciting time for USC because they are going to be making their way over to more stable territory when it comes to moving from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. Lots of positives there. And then there's Nebraska. Yes, you're probably in the conversation because of your family ties. And even given that, Nebraska, depending on what you believe, I'd call it what it is. The previous staff, they sort of botched that one. And the new staff was able to pick up the pieces and not think, hey, you know what? That bridge has already been burned. Let's put our efforts into something else. No, they decided, hey, we're going to take a pretty legitimate shot at a guy that most people probably tell us, yeah, it's probably not in the cards for you to get. Matt Rule didn't care. And son of a gun dang near pulled it off. That's how I look at it. They went after a 5-star stud and a guy that they understood, hey, if there is something that gets us in the door, maybe it is the family connections, but then it's going to be up to us, the coaches, to sell somebody of this caliber on the vision that I have for this program without being able to say, hey, see what we just did last year? See what we just did when developing the quarterback? See what my staff just did? You didn't have any of that. You're selling these guys on how they can fit, what it could be like, some of the exciting new things going on in the football program, including facility upgrade and what have you. But it was more of a, this is what we hope to accomplish, especially with you at the helm, as opposed to, look what we've been doing. Just look at last year. Just look at these last 5 years. Look at how many guys that I develop and put in the league and get some hardware at the end of the year as the best college football player in the nation. Hey, you like winning national championships? Yeah, we've just won back-to-back. I mean, you don't have any of that when you're Nebraska. But it didn't deter this coaching staff from taking a massive shot.
I thought you were going to say something else.
maybe after the news was official, maybe it was the other thing, taking a massive. Yeah. But more than anything, you got to, and Gary has said this many times, and I think he's right, but I don't look at yesterday as a loss when it comes to the recruiting efforts by this coaching staff. I don't look at it as oh boy, this isn't a good sign. This is concerning because when you step back from everything and remove yourself from, the day that Dylan showed up, they had the boys' weekend with Dahmer and Donnie and Dylan, and they're at the basketball game, and Dylan's throwing up the bones, and you got 30, 40-year-old mothers out in front of Pinnacle Bank Arena taking pictures and selfies with Dylan. I mean, it was crazy. It was weird. And then he comes back the junior weekend where you got all kinds of huge, big-time recruits, and he's shown up at the baseball game, and he's kind of all of a sudden like the unofficial tour guide because he's just been to Lincoln so much. You're like, man, it just seems right. Man, I just feel like he's one of us. And you could get lost in that, but you always knew that once he kind of got away from that environment and got back to Arizona, started going on more recruiting visits, going to Georgia, going to USC. There were a lot of similar stories from those recruiting weekends too, where he seemed like a good fit. Hey, you know what? You could usually be a good fit anywhere when you are as talented as Dylan Raiola. But you just knew that it was still going to be a long shot at that time, at that moment. And so however you might have got caught up in the Dylan Raiola roller coaster, the Raiola coaster, we reached the conclusion yesterday, and in the month of May, albeit too. It sounded like, okay, we might not really know anything until June. Well, we know in May. And again, I applaud the efforts. The fact that Nebraska was legitimately in the running tells me this staff is not afraid of the recent past, doesn't deter them from going after some big fish, but also I think is very encouraging that you have a coaching staff that has the ability to sort of paint a portrait of what big-time recruits could experience at Nebraska without even playing a game with this new staff. So all of those things, I think, are very positive. And I can guarantee you, between Rule and Satterfield and anybody that was a part of this recruitment, is not going to look at yesterday's news and think, oh, this is why we don't go after big-time recruits like that. No, they're going to say, hey, okay, what could we have done different? Which I don't know. What could we have done different? And how do we get the next guy? And, oh, yeah, by the way, how do we want to address quarterback and trying to get a guy on the roster that is actually younger than Heinrich Harburg? Because right now that is your youngest quarterback on the roster. And there are options. We're going to talk to Sam McEwen a little bit later on. Comes up at 7:30, who kind of updated where Nebraska may go when it comes to addressing now a guy that you officially know is not coming. Even though I think this coaching staff understood that was a real possibility and they didn't put all their eggs into that basket. But at the end of the day, you took your best shot. I don't think there's any of us that could say they could have done better. And I think this gets them even more hungry for the next wave of recruits, whether they have 5 stars next to them or 3 stars next to them, guys that they feel can come in and impact this program. What we have seen, I think, in a very short period of time is that this coaching staff does not lack creativity when it comes to a recruiting pitch, regardless of how things have been in this football program recently. And that is a good thing. And I'm not trying to paint a rosy sunshine picture because at the end of the day, and Sharpie's right, at the end of the day, you're going to have to start getting some of those recruiting wins. It's one thing to be considered amongst an elite recruit's top 3 or top 4 or top 5. And that's cool for so long until you finally have to get that one knocked down. But when you analyze and evaluate what this staff did to get that accomplished, I still think there were a lot of positives. I don't know if you would agree with that, Jimmy, or not, but I just think there are a lot of positives that come away from the way they being the staff, went about that recruitment.
Well, I mean, I just look at it this way. What else could they have done?
Exactly. I just don't. And that's the question.
And we said this
to ask.
yesterday. You know, Georgia, with what they've done, Nebraska right now is about what they want to do. And you asked the question, what could they do differently? I was like, well, I said fast forward time 3 years, and then they could at least counter that argument with look at the things that we're doing. And so that's why, and Gary mentioned this at first, and then you did yesterday. That's why this staff and Matt Rule are very good about, and one of the main strategies here is you recruit and play the bounce back.
Yep.
So that if it doesn't work out for the kid there, hey, if it works out for him, great. You have a positive relationship with him, obviously with the family. But if it doesn't work and he's suddenly in the portal in 1 year, 2 year, whatever, you know, right away, Nebraska will be at the very top of that list for all the prognosticators, the recruiting people, because it'll be like, well, look what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the connection. He had a positive experience before. So you don't do the sour grapes thing. You don't be bitter. You're like, hey, we lost this one, but you know what? We're going to win more of these in the future. And we'll just continue with the process that what we're doing and just believe in the process and stick with it. And that's all you do. And like I said before, then you just continue to recruit guys who want to be part of your program now. Don't worry about all that. Just there are a lot of good kids that they're bringing in that want to be part of what they're building. And you just keep going.
And that's
There's lots of positive.
There is. I don't want to make it sound like, I've been seeing a lot of vitriol from Nebraska fans over the last 24
not at
hours
all.
since this, because
far from it.
I think there was, first of all, I think there was a lot of acceptance a while back. I think you were at that point that if it happened, you were going to be like, holy cow. That just came out of nowhere. Didn't see that coming.
It's more like, oh, darn.
Yeah, now it's like, okay, so it's official.
And you move on.
I just can't imagine yesterday's news of Dylan Raiola committing to Georgia would have taken anybody at this juncture completely off guard. So, yeah, it's acceptance. It's moving on. Okay, cool. Now, what I want to see what the coaching staff is going to do is how they are going to address not recruiting a quarterback in the 2023 class. Still have opportunities for the 2024 class, but in the 2023 class, he didn't sign a quarterback. And now you're looking at a roster without Richard Torres, who would have been your youngest quarterback, where you do have a little bit of an issue there. And I don't even know if I'd call it an issue. You've got bodies in there, but your youngest quarterback is a sophomore to be in Heinrich Haarberg. But there are ways, as we know, whether it be the transfer portal, whether it be identifying what is maybe considered more of a developmental guy, there are ways that this coaching staff can go about it. And I'm sure that ball didn't get set in motion today or last night. I believe that has been in the works prior to yesterday's announcement by Dylan Raiola. And we also forget, too, if we're looking at the, I say this sarcastically, the victims in the announcement, I was mentioning USC. You know, USC thought at one point they probably had a good shot at landing Raiola, too. We forget, Raiola did commit to Ohio State back in December of 2022. I'm sorry, who backed off of the Ohio State commit in December of 2022. Feels like it's been a lot longer than that, by the way. But yeah, he was locked and loaded.
I see what you mean.
Ready to be a Buckeye, and he backed away from that commit. Now, this is where you don't really feel sorry for Ohio State. He would have been one of many 5-star, 4-star options that Ohio State has been able to draw to Columbus, Ohio. Obviously, a little bit more rare for Nebraska. And again, you look at what some of the other programs, hell, even in Oregon, some of the other programs could offer when it comes to the ultimate goal of getting to the league. I don't think you're propping up the Tanner Lee example and saying, hey, see that guy? We got Tanner Lee into the league. First of all, we didn't. The previous staff didn't. That was on Mike Riley's watch, believe it or not. But you got to go all the way back to like the 80s. The last time a Nebraska quarterback attempted a pass in the NFL. It's just not known to produce quarterbacks go on to have success or staying power in the league. Now, Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield hope to change that. You see where I'm going with this? It's not a similar pitch to what the Georgias of the world, the Alabamas of the world, the Ohio States of the world, the USCs of the world can pitch high-end quarterbacks. You've got to be creative. You've got to be convincing on how you see things going if that individual were to commit to your program. And I just find I think it'd be very interesting to be a fly on the wall when Matt Rule is having the conversation with some of those real elite level high school players. And that's not to say that the pitch would be drastically different, say, when he's talking to a 2 or a 3-star compared to a 4 or 5-star. More than anything, guys that you can tell from the get-go when they're being recruited that, this guy could be a big fish. This guy could be a huge impact right away. How that conversation is going. What is the ultimate pitch? And how convincing is this coaching staff in selling that? Because you can only work with so much right now when you have not even seen one game. You could use Matt Rule's time at Baylor. You could use Matt Rule's time at Temple. And you can even use the NFL connection, which I think is a very strong one. Even though the NFL experience for Matt Rule did not work out, was not ultimately a success, there was multiple years of being a head coach at the NFL level and dealing with that talent, identifying that type of talent, making those types of relationships that can have some value, especially if you start winning some football games. So it's over. I, for one, am kind of, I'm kind of relieved.
You talk about something else?
Yeah. And you know what?
Like where Ed Foley is?
Right. Where's Ed today? Do we know where Ed is today?
He was just I was just looking at it. Looked like he had a really good burger.
Was he having a burger? Is he having like a breakfast burger?
No, not right now.
Oh, was he? He was posting from
yesterday. He said in Iowa, South Dakota. So he's making the rounds up northeast.
Look out, Hawkeyes.
Yesterday he ate a Charlie Boy at Miles Inn in Sioux City, Iowa.
A Charlie Boy, huh?
Yeah.
What is a Charlie Boy?
I don't know, but it looks good.
Is it a burger?
Yeah, it looks like a burger. He had Diet Coke too.
And he had a Diet Coke.
Yeah. So
that a boy, Ed.
That's called moving on.
Was that was Ed's that was his comfort food?
Yeah.
He needed
it was a chilly day yesterday. So you need that kind of comfort food.
I didn't know if he needed just a little bit of the comfort food. Like you eat when there's a bad breakup. Again,
you eat your feelings.
But
that's the thing.
The staff wasn't taken back.
Yeah, nobody was eating their feelings yesterday in general because this was already expected.
It was.
They knew all the stuff, so they kind of moved on.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Good on Dylan. I think once you know, you know. And if you realize, hey, because there was the rumor that he was going to make an official visit in Nebraska in June. If you know, you know. And sometimes it's easy for players, regardless of what your stature is, to kind of keep this thing going, to sort of maybe, and I don't want to say Dylan was doing this, but to string other teams along to where you probably know you're low on the priority list, but the fact that you haven't been ruled out because the The young man has not made a decision. Like, I can appreciate pretty much all angles of this thing. I'm glad Dylan did it when he did, because everybody else, including USC, including Oregon, not that I feel bad for them, everybody can finally just move on. And for Georgia, you got your guy. Congratulations. And it's going to be a good landing spot for Dylan Raiola. I mean, if you are an elite player with a chance to get even better, oh my goodness. There are a lot of programs out there where you could do worse. A lot. So congrats to Dylan Raiola. But again, job well done by the coaching staff for Nebraska. I think you made it very, very difficult at least one point during this process for Dylan Raiola. And for a team that, other than the bowl season, which had to go all the way back to 2016, the bowl season, and the Mike Riley year 2, your best result has been a 5-win season. It is not easy to stay in contention to players like that. So hats off to the coaching staff. We will talk more about what Nebraska is doing when it comes to the quarterback position now that it's been official. Sam McEwen with plenty on that. He will join us at 7:30. We continue to take a look at the 2023 opponent list for Nebraska in our post-spring previews, as we will take a look at the Northern Illinois Huskies out in DeKalb. Eddie Carifio of the Daily Chronicle in DeKalb will join us right at 8 o'clock, and then more recruiting and a little basketball as well, and maybe some Twins and Vikings too with our good friend Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 Sports. That is our lineup, powered by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. And then tonight, we get set for Eastern Conference Finals.
West is tonight.
Oh, it's West?
West tonight.
I thought East is tonight.
I thought that too. But the NBA
backwards?
Draft Lottery is tonight.
The
and that's on
NBA Draft
ESPN.
Lottery
That's how I
is
remember it.
tonight.
So that's how I remember it. I know it's mixed up. but yeah.
Wow.
West tonight, East tomorrow.
You're right. Yeah, okay.
But you're missing
Yeah.
the best part about the whole thing.
Jeez.
No more late games.
I know. We've got a 7:30. Yep, there it is. 7:30 between Lakers and Nugs. And then tomorrow night, we get the Eastern Conference Finals at 7:30 as well. TNT.
And I would
like
think
that.
in hockey, although you never know with the way they schedule some of these games, you have no more late games there too.
Yeah, we should be okay. when it
First
comes to
game
that.
of that series of the Western
Might be
Conference
some
series
Vegas.
starts Friday.
Yeah.
And that's early.
Yeah. That is good.
They don't sleep there anyway, so you could start in the afternoon.
Yeah, it doesn't
So,
really matter.
yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. I also got some news out of the NFL involving a former good quarterback, but great quarterback. I don't know if we call him great. But Matt Ryan will tell you what he's going to be doing. The streaming platform continues to get exclusivity on some major sporting events. You've got Big Ten athletic directors meeting this week. What might they be talking about? Lots of things going on. Also, and this was a discussion during the crossover about some of the best hangs in the NFL when it comes to the quarterback position. And meaning the dudes that you feel like, hey, you know what? That'd be a fun guy to sit down, play some darts with, maybe
Your text makes sense now.
shoot
when you
some
say it that
pool.
way.
Yeah. Are they a good hang? And there was one that between Connor, myself, and Josh, we sort of unanimously agreed that would be the best hang of them all. And he continues to show why. We'll get into that a little bit later on. You can always reach out to us, 402-951-1620. The J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed, always open for you. Hit us up on Twitter at Nick Handley 1620, or you can hit us up in the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. And you can email the show, and that is, I am Handley at 1620thezone.com, and he is Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. So, as we play the game of moving on, that is good. And another gentleman who is moving on from his playing career into what should be, I think, a very good gig. We'll tell you what Matt Ryan is up to, and I don't even know if it's a debate, but the great discussion of where does Matt Ryan fit in the pantheon of quarterbacks? Is he elite?
And if not for one blown Super Bowl, where
Yep.
might it be now?
Exactly. We got that and so much more. And we are happy that you are with us here on this Tuesday morning. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
At Emprise Bank, we're your partner in possible. And we believe that when we work together, your dreams are achievable, which means prototypes become production lines. Startup plans become expansion plans. And the opportunities you see become the organization you run. Emprise is built for business, which means we're committed to helping you succeed. This is the power of possible. Visit emprisebank.com to learn more.
Buckle up.
Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship returns to Omaha at Liberty First Credit Union Arena Friday, May 19th. In the main event, your undefeated hometown star, Houston the Assassin Alexander, throws down with the always dangerous Jeremy Pitbull Smith. Also, see Dakota Cochran fight Noah Cutter, Sean P-Town Wilson versus Brandon Meyer, Jade Wong versus Taylor Killer B. Starling, and many more bare knuckle fights. Get your tickets now at bkfc.com.
Meet Joe A, Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Cougar. Let us talk about the 3 most surprising things about modern LASIK at Kugler Vision. The first, how fast that LASIK procedure. Edge technology. We're talking just a few minutes per eye. Incredibly speedy. And how about this for number 2? How comfortable the procedure is. So often from their patients, they hear, wait, that's it? It's over? They make sure that you're relaxed and comfortable, as well as knowing exactly what is happening. And this, for number 3, how quickly you can get back to normal life. Patients typically drive themselves to Kugler Vision the very next day for their follow-up visit. So you're back in action less than 24 hours later. Kugler Vision right now, they have special pre-summer savings on modern LASIK or any of their other advanced vision correction procedures. If you've ever thought about fixing your bad vision, the Kugler Vision Eye Analysis is your first step. Do so today. Schedule one online at kuglervision.com.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. Choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now try Babbel for free by texting radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000. That's RADIO to 64,000.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
You think Matt Ryan likes this song? It's a jam.
He seems like he would be one that does.
I can see him vibing out to this. Yeah, that's a good jam.
That's what we're here for. Get things stuck in your head.
It was a random pull, too. But it was a good one.
I know. That's what I thought of when you were on your
Yeah,
little rant there.
I appreciate
Hey, we
that.
got Frank Stallone on our bingo card yesterday, so
Who sings this one?
Crowded House.
Crowded House.
Came out in 1986.
I believe a one-hit wonder.
Probably. A lot of them were back then.
I don't really I don't celebrate the Crowded House catalog.
Yeah. Not like Barry Manilow.
No. Celebrate his entire catalog. Because I'm a big fan. I'm a huge Michael Bolton fan. Just made me think. Yeah. So
Speaking of celebrating their entire catalog, yeah. There's a video to this song too, as there were for
I'm
all
sure there
songs
was,
back
yeah.
then, and they used to have a channel on TV. And sit back, kids, and ask your parents about this. There used to be a channel that would show nothing but videos all
You
day.
didn't have to go to YouTube.
What was a YouTube?
You didn't know what that.
You know what
that
it was?
YouTube
It was literally a tube.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. We didn't know what that was. So music videos were fantastic. Some lacked creativity compared to others, but
There's always a budget, though.
It's funny because there are a lot of songs that right around from that time too of Crowded House, 80s, even 90s, that I associate certain songs to the video. Like I could hear the song and I can see the video. Like remember, I think I brought it up just the other day in Soundgarden Black Hole Sun of what was kind of a creepy video and like things melting and it's just really weird. And anytime I think of No Rain by Blind Melon, another one-hit wonder, we all think of the little girl dressed in the Bumblebee outfit, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many songs that you remember the video, so you immediately, that's where your mind goes. Not like, oh, I love this song. It's like, oh, I remember this video. We don't have that anymore. Like kids are like, oh, what's that about? What's that like? Because they don't have that. Everybody remembers the Take On Me.
Yes.
Where you go from like, it goes into like the anime or like the sketch. It's like real life. And then all of a sudden they enter into like the drawing, the sketch world. And like, it just, again, some had more creativity than others, but there are plenty of songs out there from that time that I would associate back to the video. We just don't have that anymore.
No.
And maybe it's good because I think I know that I'm going to sound like the get off my lawn type guy at 44 years old.
It's too late.
There's a lot of new music that just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, that's nothing against the artists. Okay, maybe it is, but music just sucks these days. It just does. There's not a lot of great stuff out there.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but yeah.
I mean,
I guess we have Angry Monday today.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's just like, so maybe I wouldn't want to see what the video would entail. Or maybe the video would actually make it more entertaining. Maybe it'd work completely the opposite of what I'm thinking. That's my hot take, which I don't think is a very hot take. I think a lot of people around my age would say, yeah, music ain't great these days. That's why
Handley's onto something.
When you get a lot of artists out there, like new artists that are actually putting out some good hits, I feel like they stand out more than others. Because I think there's a time where, not that long ago.
Be careful. They might come over from next door and have a talking to with you.
I bet you they agree. I'm like, yeah, I mean, just because we're putting it on doesn't mean we like it. I know people. I know a lot of people in this building. I know people in the radio industry that I would have thought I could never say that to them. Like I could never say, gosh, what's going on with this modern music these days, like top 40 music these days. And I'd feel like they would smack me across the face. You'd be surprised how many of them would be like, yeah, it's not great. It's not good. So again, I don't think I'm alone there.
You're not.
But
I'm just enjoying this rant.
If there was a video, if we still had MTV, and you could maybe associate a song that you're like, not great, but it has like an epic video, well, now you're talking. And maybe all of a sudden you become a little bit bigger fan of that song because, as we did back in the day, you associate certain songs to, oh, remember that video? Oh, that was a good video. Remember the Bumblebee girl?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Who doesn't, around our age, remember David Lee Roth, Van Halen, pretty much every song that they had, but wish they all could be California Girls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aerosmith, they had some good videos back then.
Yes, they did. Liv Tyler was in a lot of those too. Liv and Alicia Silverstone.
Yes.
That was in Crazy, right?
Yes.
And then, what? Hot for Teacher, Van Halen. See, I'm going back to Van Halen there.
That's okay.
That was a good song, but good video. And you got to see little Van Halen as little teenagers, which was fun. So again, if you're maybe lacking the popularity with the song, not necessarily putting out a banger as a song, put out a banger of a video. Put out a banger of a video.
I believe they still exist on the YouTube.
They exist on YouTube. But I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a video on YouTube of anything modern. Do you have? I mean, are the videos any good? I don't know.
Do they waste the time and energy?
Yeah, is it just is it like me with a camera recording?
Well, we were talking about 311 yesterday. They use Shaq in a
playing?
video, and that I play the song, and immediately you think of Shaq.
Right. It might just be as simple as like me recording you and the band playing the song. No, I need other things going on. I need a plot. I need a storyline. Like there were, and I'm trying to remember the song. There were a couple of songs that I didn't even know who the band was, if I would ever even listen to the song, but I remember the video being so entertaining. Like there was an actual like 3 or 4 minute video of a song. I can't remember what the song was, of basically like a stalker, like true crime episode. It wasn't a true crime thing, but that's like what the premise was. It was like a guy that was trying to get in the house of a lady. That was the video of this song. And the song didn't it didn't even have anything to really do with that, but that was the video. So
this is recent?
This would have been like late 90s.
Okay.
And you're like, what is going on here? And so again, though, you're entertained. You're watching the video. And while the song's being played in the background, you're kind of like, okay.
I see what you mean. Remember Waterfalls, TLC? That was a story.
Oh, yeah. And then when they come out of the waterfall and they look like the what was the little liquid Terminator in T2?
Yeah, T1000.
The T1000. Yeah,
I was just going to say that.
They look like a bunch of T1000s. Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Liquid metal.
Liquid metal, yeah. Yeah. Water. See? You know where I'm going with that.
Back to Arnold. I love it.
It's
who is my daddy and what does he do?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? Matt Ryan, by the way, there's just really no natural lead into that, so we're just going to go right into it. Matt Ryan is going to be in the broadcast booth, which I, for one, first and foremost,
I actually think he's going to be really good.
I do too.
And I have nothing to base that on. I do too. Just to feel.
I'm a Matt Ryan fan. As the person, this is where I think Hard Knocks can do guys a favor when you get a chance to see a little bit more of their personality. When the Atlanta Falcons, and I couldn't even tell you what year it was, when they did Hard Knocks, I thought Matt Ryan came across as a good dude. Kind of goofy, but you can tell everybody around him, all of his teammates, they all respect him. He's a pretty polished guy, but has a good personality. Good golfer, too, by the way. But he's one of those guys that you can tell the football IQ. He can explain it very well. I think a lot of quarterbacks can. But Matt Ryan is one that I think will have a good opportunity to sort of articulate the game. Now, sometimes when you are a player, doesn't always mean you're going to be great in the broadcast booth. Maybe I'll have it completely wrong on Matt Ryan. He comes across as a guy, when I've heard him speak, that he can articulate football. He can give you maybe a similar viewpoint as a Tony Romo, but maybe without the geeking out. Jim.
Followed by Tony, it's just a promo for Big Brother.
Big Brother promo. You see that? Football. Love it. I feel like Matt Ryan will have a little bit
Jim
more.
Nantz and Tony Romo, otherwise known as the Chiefs broadcasters.
Restraint, maybe the best way to describe, I think, what Matt Ryan could bring. A little bit restrained. restraint to the
analysis
to the excitement that I'm sure he will experience.
If he ends up bombing, everyone's going to be like, man, we were wrong. But I do think he will have success.
Do you think he'll have 3 really good quarters and then maybe a bad fourth?
Don't blow the game. Hey, to be fair, it's Kyle Shanahan who.
Yeah, there was play calling that didn't help Matt Ryan out.
Apparently doesn't believe in running the ball, at least back then. I mean, he does now, but people forget that if he would have ran the ball in the first Super Bowl, Atlanta would have a championship, and if he would have ran the ball a few years later with San Francisco, the 49ers would have had a championship.
So he's actually
what I'm trying to say is run the damn ball.
I agree.
When you have a lead, Julio makes that catch.
Yep.
You got what you needed. Run the damn ball.
You can't put all that
on
a
field goal, run the clock out, whatever.
I agree.
Not we're going to continue to drop back. You have the lead.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my
no. You can't. You can't put all that on Matt Ryan, but we will, and we do. So he's going to actually be not only.
You think he's seen 80 for Brady? Hoping it ends differently.
I don't even think he would go near it.
Yeah.
I think once he heard what it was about, he's like, nope.
For the sequel.
He's only going to. How about this? He turns 38 tomorrow. I thought he was older than that. I thought he was older than Aaron Rodgers, but so he's actually going to be both as a studio analyst and in-game analyst on the CBS Sports platforms. He announced his new role on Twitter, but he did stop short of saying he's done playing.
I mean, they all say that.
Yeah. Well, remember, Jay Cutler was set to be on the Fox, one of the Fox analysts.
Yeah.
Hell, he might have been Greg Olsen before Greg Olsen was Greg Olsen. But then the Dolphins and his former OC with Chicago was in a little bit of a desperate situation in Miami.
Come put a uniform on and hang out.
Yeah. So then Jay Cutler,
and then he never went
into
into TV after.
Nope, he never did. Well, he got into reality TV.
No,
with Clearly Cavalieri or whatever the hell that was called. Which, by the way, I thought did wonders for Jay Cutler because he was quite funny. I admit, my wife was really
Mr.
into
Modern
it.
Music sucks. Watched it.
I did watch it because it's Jay, man. Hey, I had to live. You talk about the Riola coaster. I had to live the Cutler coaster, man, with a cig hanging out and everything. I have a little cig dangling. But yes,
got his Len Dawson on. Rest in peace.
But Matt Ryan, anytime there's Matt Ryan news, whether it was Matt Ryan joining the Colts or Matt Ryan doing this or Matt Ryan doing that, everybody always seems to take to the complicated legacy that is Matt Ryan. Like, is Matt Ryan elite? Was he ever elite? And you brought this up earlier, Jimmy. 1 quarter away from probably changing, whether it's fair or not, the way that we discuss the career of Matt Ryan. Because
he didn't blow the lead alone.
No, he didn't. And from a number standpoint, Matt Ryan had a very good career.
Always consistent.
Yep.
Always just really damn good.
He had several winning seasons. He set single
for a
season
franchise
records.
that didn't exactly win a ton and hasn't historically.
He's got single season records for the Falcons in passing yards of 4,944 one year. For touchdown passes, he had a 38 touchdown pass season and 300-yard plus games of 7 one year. And he also owns the Atlanta Falcons record of consecutive passes without an interception of 272 pass attempts. He's got 7 winning seasons. He is someone who, unfortunately, as we know, has always been kind of defined by a Super Bowl that the Patriots won in the comeback, and where the Falcons had, or the Red Stallions had a
right. Get it right.
I know.
It's like Jay Cutler went to the Georgia Florida Dolphins.
The Georgia, or was it the Atlanta Florida Dolphins? I can't. One of the two. One of the two.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Nick Grimm. That's his team.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at his career, he had a couple of impressive years, including 2 13-win seasons. I mentioned 7 winning seasons out of 15. And then, of course, There's he had the MVP year. Had not had a winning season, though, in the last 4 years. Actually, 5 years to count the Colts. The last 5 years of him being a starting quarterback. So the lasting impression of Matt Ryan is also something to kind of consider. But for a guy that, and this isn't how I break down the quarterbacks or feel quarterbacks should be looked upon. But how many times did you get into a fantasy football league? Maybe not in the last 5 years, but basically between 2008 and 2016, where Matt Ryan was one of the top guys that you had to pick when it came to quarterback.
And you felt good about your choice when you
felt like
I got a good quarterback.
Yeah, you're going to get numbers.
Like, especially if it's like a cash draft type deal.
Yeah.
You weren't breaking the bank for, I mean, bad example, but like when people, today you'd pick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Oh, they're going to be the top quarterbacks because of all the things they can do. But then you look for that next tier. Well, who can be a really good quarterback that won't break the bank and then you can still continue to draft a team? Matt Ryan was one of those guys.
He was.
And you were going to get solid, consistent production from that position.
Yeah, he was one of those.
So did they.
He was one of those guys that I think you could always look at as, I don't know if anybody, maybe you would, maybe people would, when he was at his prime. So I'm saying, between, 2010, 2017, he was a guy that I think most people would consider to be, would you consider a top 10 quarterback?
Well, what you said right there is that's a long time. That's a lot of years. It's not
is.
like it was 3 or 4 years. I mean, you were
He was
getting almost a
in
decade.
He was drafted in 2008 and played his last season, assuming it's his last season, last year. So from a career standpoint, he's a 66% completion percentage. He's thrown for 62,792 yards, 381 tutties, and 183 interceptions, with a career quarterback rating of 93.6. So, again, the numbers are solid. And again, I'll give him a pass for his first couple of years, but basically between 2010 to 2016, 17, 18. When was the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl?
It was after the 16 season.
Okay.
So February of 17.
We'll go in that window, basically 2010 to 2017. I don't think you'd get much pushback that Matt Ryan wasn't a top 10 quarterback. But then there's the old, was he ever elite? I don't know if I could ever go there. I don't know if you ever thought, man, we're dealing with Matt Ryan today. That is going to be a monumental task. Because, kind of like Tom Brady, he was a statue type guy, but he was able to anticipate. So what he maybe lacked in overall ability to extend a play, athleticism, he made up for with his ability to anticipate. And he had some years where he was highly accurate. But did he ever have that it factor? Like I'd even throw, we've talked a lot about Aaron Rodgers as of late, but the guy that you do not want the ball in their hands with 2 minutes to go if you are playing them. Did you ever put Matt Ryan in that category? I don't know if I ever did. I think I could name at least 6 or 7 guys at that time when Matt Ryan was pretty good.
Yeah, or say like not to bring him up again, but an Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly.
Or when we were a kid, if John Elway got the ball late in the game, like, oh.
Or Joe Montana.
Yeah. Yes.
But then I think
of that Monday night game in '94 between the both of them.
Well, because you think about, Matt Ryan playing in the Tom Brady, the Peyton Manning era. I mean, those were two that always come to mind. Aaron Rodgers,
Brady, yes,
Drew Brees, those guys. I mean, I would always name those guys before I would name Matt Ryan. So do I think he was a top 10 at his best? Yeah. Do I think he was elite? No.
Would you say he was underappreciated?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think he was underappreciated.
Because what you look for in that position, obviously, is excellence, but consistency. And he did that over a long time, a long period.
Yeah. Rob weighs in on the Equitable Bank inbox. Said good morning, Rob. He also never got injured.
Yeah.
Unbelievable longevity. And he's absolutely right.
That's a great point.
Because
that's the other thing you look for with that.
What do they say about your availability? Yeah. That's your biggest value right there. And you're right. For a guy that, again,
you never said, oh, that Matt Ryan, he's overrated.
Yeah.
Oh, he just doesn't get the job done.
Or guy can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
Guy just gets banged up all the time. And he was a big target.
And
for a guy who couldn't
understand
move,
what I'm getting at here. You didn't say he can't win the big one per se.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I know they blew a lead, but that wasn't his fault.
Right.
I said Kyle Shanahan called passing plays, and yes, he got sacked on the next play. He should have thrown it away. I'll give you that, but he was in the pocket. They shouldn't have been in the position to begin with. But when they blew that lead, I didn't say, that Matt Ryan blew the game.
Yeah. He's somebody that, and we do this again.
They just weren't good enough always to get back there. They had that 1 year.
And whether it's fair or not, it's just what we do. I don't make the rules. It's just what we do. And that is, we put quarterbacks in a certain echelon and a certain status based on rings. Like I've had this debate so many times with a teammate of Eli Manning and my friend Dave Tollefson, where, two rings.
Yeah.
Dave is convinced he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm like, wow.
Eli.
Yeah,
I see that.
But then I look at the numbers. You're like, okay, compared to other guys that were not first ballot Hall of Famers, it doesn't add up. But then you add in the 2 Super Bowl rings against the teams that he got those Super Bowl rings. And it's amazing what that does to your entire career. Even just one.
Well,
even just one. And
argument.
Matt Ryan was that close. If he gets that one, how are we discussing Matt Ryan? Is there any gray area?
Well, it's easy. Forever, you're Super Bowl champion Matt Ryan.
Yep.
You're Super Bowl champion
That's
Eli
true.
Manning. Any of the players, Dave, any of the players who play on this
Or
team.
two-time
Your name
Super
is,
Bowl.
2-time Super Bowl champion. It means that much more because of it. That's just
And
how it is.
And in a game where Atlanta did everything for 3 quarters to win that football game. And you're right, Matt, it wasn't all
It was
on
a
Matt
really
Ryan,
good team, too.
but it goes on his tab.
Yeah.
Whether that's fair or not, it goes on his tab.
I'll give you a comparison, not necessarily in numbers, but when you talk about this argument, or I don't even think it's an argument. What about Dan Fouts?
Yep.
Dan Fouts was an awesome quarterback ahead of his time, put up numbers, played for a long time, tough as nails, always available, always healthy. Didn't win the Super Bowl, got to the AFC Championship in 80 and 81. In 80, they ran into a red-hot Raiders team, a divisional opponent, always dangerous when you play them in the playoffs because the third time. In 81, they played in that Freezer Bowl in Cincinnati after that epic game at the Orange Bowl the week before. You had a 60 below zero wind chill for an offense known as Eric Coryell. They never got back that high again.
Yeah. It's the exact same thing with the Falcons coming back from
And it
that
wasn't
Super Bowl
because Dan
Patriots.
wasn't good. I mean,
Right.
Dan was great.
No, I mean, and you can make the argument.
And he played a long time like Matt Ryan.
The Falcons, that 13-win season, they're not even close. They're not even sniffing the Super Bowl if it's not for what Matt Ryan does in the regular season. So, but to kind of wrap up this entire thought, I think he's going to be really good in the booth.
Yeah.
I think he has a chance to be very good. Is he someone that could be coming for Tony Romo? I don't know.
I think it's one of those that maybe the brass is back there is like, well, no, but we'll have our eye.
Yeah,
especially if he's very successful.
It's not their plan, but it's like, okay.
Like if he ends up really good at it, then you can have that discussion.
If Tony's Q rating starts dropping.
Yeah, that's football.
I'm Tony Romo. Just
remember how he was loved before, and all of a sudden everyone is just.
Well, he just needs to take his Xanax. I'm not saying his content isn't good. He just.
Well, I mean,
he gets so excited.
They're going to be spending so much time in Kansas City. You know, some stuff is legal in Missouri. There are things that they can get.
I wonder if Jim Nantz ever just, and we never see it on the broadcast, just like puts his hand on his back and just kind of gives him like a slow pat, like, calm down, friend.
I work with Raftery, and you make him look docile.
Yeah. I know it's exciting for you, friend, but please calm down. You're giving me anxiety.
In your mind, just picture you're in Butler Cabin with me.
I'll put a green jacket on you, friend.
Be a tradition like any other.
Tony likes football, and he wants you to know it. All right.
Hey, we like football.
We do.
All right.
We love football. And we're going to be talking more football with Sam McEwen coming up in less than 30 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the official news from Dylan Raiola committing to Georgia, but also what's ahead for Nebraska in recruiting that position now that we know that it's official. All of that and much more. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from 192nd to 186th on Center. Along Highway 370, things are slowing down just a little bit near Gold Coast Road. And on Dodge, be prepared for just a minor delay from 94th to 90th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Not your typical restaurant. Not your typical place. Romeo's. Not your typical restaurant. For your not your typical taste. Romeo's. Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza. Not your typical restaurant.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but costs as low as $3 per dose? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at just $3 per dose. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but only $3 per dose. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Are you looking for tickets for the next big event? Be sure to check out my friends at ticketsforless.com. They're going to take care of you all of the best seats to the biggest local events, and they've also got great seats to events nationwide. Now, the one thing with ticketsforless.com that I love is they never charge per ticket fees. And you know what? With that, you can save hundreds of dollars over other resale websites. You can lock in a special discount right now when you use the special code THEZONE at checkout at ticketsforless.com. Simply enter the code THEZONE at checkout, and you're going to earn an exclusive listener discount. Memories for Life start at ticketsforless.com.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. cleanairradio.com.
You could throw your flip-flop at a bug.
Ew, a bug, get it.
But the chances of actually hitting it
Over there.
are statistically
It's still alive.
unlikely. Good thing nature's got your back. Stem bug killers combine powerful active ingredients found in plants, like lemongrass and geraniol, and scientifically engineer them into effective bug-fighting formulas, safe for use as directed around people, pets, and throughout the home. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
Businesses of Omaha, settling for a website that looks like it's stuck in the early 2000s? Then it's time to level up with JM Online. Our local team builds custom websites that solve unique business needs. We're not your typical web design company. We're your partners in online success. Ready to take your website to the next level? Go to jmonline.com and request an initial call.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Got a little college baseball going on today over at the Chuck. They're going to have the Kids Day as well for both the Creighton Blue Jays
There'll be
and
some
the
streaming.
Omaha Mavericks. That's right.
That's for Steve, by the way. Got it us on the Twitter.
Nice. There it is. One of the great videos ever. So good. The Creighton Omaha game, it'll be the Cox Kids Day game, where they will have elementary schools from the Omaha metro area.
Billy Blue Jay will be busy.
Oh, yeah. They'll be bussing in loads of kids at that one. And that's an 11 a.m. first pitch, so that's technically breakfast baseball. Now, it's not Big Ten
For
baseball.
kids, it's lunch baseball.
Yes, it is. But the one thing that you always want to avoid if you're playing in the Big Ten tournament is that 9 a.m. game. So you think 11 a.m. is the earliest you're going to see a game at the Chuck. No, we got the Big Ten tournament a little more than a week away. How about that, by the way? That is a week from tomorrow.
It goes fast.
We get the Big Ten tournament underway. Nebraska, by the way, there's scenarios. Did I mention that already? The first pitch, 11? Yeah. 11 a.m. Creighton, Omaha. So that is their last midweek game, and then both Creighton hosts UConn this weekend in their conference season finale before conference tournament. And Creighton, as we mentioned yesterday, got a little work to do. They are not in yet. I like their chances of being able to get in, whether they basically they need a win against UConn, which might be tough because they've been swept in the last couple of weekends, and UConn is really good. UConn is they're the top dog in the Big East for a reason. But also the team that trails them by a game is Georgetown. Georgetown, I believe, has Xavier. Is that right? Either way, Georgetown, not great. A Georgetown loss would also put Creighton in. So basically, unless
it doesn't matter if you back your way in, as long as you're in.
Unless Georgetown sweeps and Creighton gets swept, Creighton is going to be going to the Big East tournament. But again, it's not locked in. Omaha's got some work to do, but they also like their chances. They play Northern Colorado. Just need to get a couple W's there, and then they're good to go. They lead Western Illinois by a half game. But Nebraska, getting back to Husker baseball, and thank you to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald for laying out a lot of scenarios for Nebraska. Now, I misspoke when it came to Nebraska's opportunity to still win the regular season. Now, do you like to play the mathematically game? Mathematically,
I don't like to
there's
play
a chance.
anything mathematically.
I don't either.
But that's just a personal.
I believe this is why you and I both got into broadcasting.
Yeah.
I
literally still have
requirements.
math nnightmares almost 20 years later, but carry on.
Yeah, college level algebra is where I said goodbye to math.
There's my PTSD. You can just see, you can hear the desperation in the testing room. You had to go to a different room, and you would just hear the calculators. Like if they would have let people, smoke in those rooms, it'd be people firing up heaters the whole time out of just nerves, and just a cloud of smoke and desperation. And
what is it, spies like us?
Yes, and people would be taking, swigs from their flask just to get through it. And looks like I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Where the hell did you go to school, man, where people are lighting up because
I'm saying if they did.
They can't figure out an equation.
I'm saying if they let you do those things. No, they didn't let you do any of that. All you had was your TI-85 or whatever the hell it was and prayer. That's about it.
I still find it very interesting that you could smoke in airplanes. But anyway, that's a story
different
for a different
time.
day. Yeah, that's just a story for a different day. So here's the good news for Nebraska. If you're thinking about how high they could climb in the Big Ten regular season standings, Nebraska could actually still win the conference. Now, not only would they have to sweep, but you would need Maryland and Indiana to just have absolutely dreadful weekends. Like they would basically have to get swept. So there is still mathematically a chance that Nebraska could win the Big Ten regular season. But what is maybe even better is I'm assuming Maryland's going to win the conference. Now, Maryland and Indiana have identical records, but Maryland swept Indiana. Maryland's good, and we saw that just 2 weeks ago. The way that, even though they wouldn't be playing at Turtle Park, where it's like 305 to center.
Big shell.
It's like a wiffle ball home run derby place. You got a little bit deeper yard there at the Chuck. That is a team that can mash. They've got some dudes, especially guys in their offensive side of it, if you will, in that lineup. Yeah, they can swing it a little bit. The good news is if Maryland does win, Nebraska cannot finish eighth. And it does. Nebraska, let me start that over. Regardless of who wins the conference, Nebraska can't finish eighth. So you're going to avoid the number one seed, whoever it is. So that's good. So Nebraska can basically go anywhere from one seed. Again, that is if everything goes right and the wind is blowing in the right direction, Nebraska could win the regular season. But they do own some tiebreakers when it comes to 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then there's some tiebreakers that they would come out on the short side of it. If I had to guess right now, I'd say a 4 or 5 seed is probably where I see Nebraska realistically. Probably the 4 through 6 spot. 7 would be worst case scenario. I think, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of 2017 for people who remember that year for Nebraska. Actually, no, I take that back. 2016. 2016 is where Nebraska, and it's kind of ironic, when Nebraska lost and got swept against Iowa in Iowa City during the spring game weekend this year. Prior to that, the only time Nebraska had been swept on the road in Big Ten play was in 2016 against Michigan in Ann Arbor. And I remember leaving that series. I was on the call that weekend with Ben McLaughlin. And I remember leaving that series, we were wondering, does this team have enough to even make the Big Ten tournament based on what we saw that weekend? It was just a very hapless group that weekend. Michigan was good. They weren't great. They weren't even, I think, a top 3 team in the Big Ten that year, but they owned Nebraska that weekend. We're wondering, okay, are they going to be able to rebound and do anything? They recovered nicely. They went on a little bit of a heater at the end, and they finished as high as 2nd in the Big Ten regular season standings. So that was 2016. This team is in kind of a similar trajectory based on that sweep last weekend, where if they were able, and I don't know why, maybe I'm sipping on the Kool-Aid. I'm not Josh Otson right now, who has canceled Nebraska baseball, and he'll tell you that. He said yesterday.
Hey, be nice. His Kraken lost last night.
I know, but no, yesterday, and he said, I love it. I think it's hilarious because he's so passionate about it. He said about the sweep, he said, congratulations, you did what you're supposed to do. Way to go. Like, okay, I get you. I hear you.
I'm Team Josh there. I like that.
But the fact
in
that
general,
Nebraska, I'm Team Josh.
That's like the grumpy. That's like the grumpy parent.
I find myself agreeing with Josh in a lot of things.
Actually, sounds like my dad. Yeah, I got A's. So you did what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And that's what he said. He goes, it's like graduating high school. It's like, congratulations, you're supposed to.
You finished 12th grade. What are we? Fine, let's go eat.
It's like when you didn't do drugs in high school. Congratulations, you laid off drugs in high school. That's awesome. Let's have a parade for you. But the thing with this team, the only thing I differ with Josh is I haven't canceled Nebraska baseball. But what I do feel is you will get a pretty solid effort out of them this weekend. If nothing else, because that pressure of qualifying for the Big Ten tournament is off. I said that yesterday. I feel like they have a shot of winning the series against Purdue.
Go play and get better.
Yeah. And you can eliminate Purdue, which, as I mentioned, what happened last year where Purdue decided not to play a game when they probably could have taken enough precaution and moved up some games and avoided the weather. Basically, if they lost to Maryland in that game that was not played, Nebraska would have made the Big Ten tournament. I don't think that Nebraska team last year would have done anything. So in a way, I think maybe that was sort of a mercy killing if you were Purdue and what you did to Nebraska. But I know there are some people on that team that maybe are thinking about that a little bit. And now that,
hey, whatever helps to get you motivated and pissed.
And they don't have to worry about like, it's good. We got to lock it in here because
Will can be like, hey, if it gets you focused, let's go with it.
Yeah, it's like, but the thing is, you don't have to worry about that whole like, we got to lock it in because we did not, or we're not qualified for the Big Ten tournament yet. You don't have to worry about that. So I think it's going to be a loose bunch this weekend.
Yeah, you lock it in more because you want to be continuing to improve and be playing your best baseball going into that tournament. So you go in on a heater.
And right now the standings look like this. You've got Maryland leading the pack because they own the head-to-head with an identical conference record with Indiana. Then you've got Iowa, who is just a couple games back. Nebraska, who is basically a game behind Iowa, 3 behind Maryland. And then you've got Rutgers, Michigan, all with identical records as Nebraska. Now, as I said yesterday, Nebraska would own any type of tiebreaker over Michigan because they played in a series. Nebraska won that series. Nebraska would also own tiebreakers if it came to that against Illinois because they beat Illinois in the series. So essentially, well, I take it back. Nebraska's 2 games back of the co-leaders, But yes, they have tiebreakers that could realistically play a part in this. So essentially, here's how it goes for Nebraska. They own tiebreakers also against Rutgers, even though they didn't play them, because Nebraska clinched a better record against common opponents. So, through all of this, if Nebraska can win the series against Purdue, I see them, based on the teams in front of them and who they play, I see Nebraska being a 4 or 5 seed. That, to me, would be the sweet spot where Nebraska would be if they take 2 of 3 from Purdue this weekend. And all things considered, that's a good spot to be in. That is a pretty good spot to be in for Nebraska, especially if you are able to avoid what I think will be the number 1 seed in Maryland. So the regular season title hopes are not completely eliminated, probably not realistic, but I think there's a really good shot that Nebraska also, they won't finish 8th. They won't be the 8 seed. And I think there's a really good shot they won't be the 7 seed. So you're looking at a pretty hardy middle, which is a good spot, I think, for them to be in. And then we'll see. Because, those games next week, they are played in weekdays. And what does that lead to?
Messy.
Midweek mess. Midweek mess. Nebraska. But, hey, pressure's off. Just go out and play some ball. Maybe a little revenge, a little piss and vinegar, and we'll see what happens. So you got baseball today, Omaha, Creighton, 11, with a lot of kids, very noisy. I know you've broadcasted games, too, where they've had the kids' days, too. That noise kind of pierces.
Gary and I have talked about this before because he's done his fair share of screaming kids' games. And one of the things where we as broadcasters are lucky, we have a headset on.
Yep.
We don't really hear the screaming. They play Shut Up and Dance, and they're all dancing, and it's ironic they play that song, and they're singing, and, you're getting your Baby Shark on, and I don't hear it because I'm listening.
Is Party in the USA still a crowd favorite, too?
I think so.
I feel like that's a big one.
Yeah. But I have, I have the headphones on, and so you hear the commercials, or I'm talking back to Jeff City. We were a Lyrical school, and so we're talking back to those people there. The players, the coaches, and say the athletic trainer, because that's who, our athletic trainer would just tell me about how it was just, she needed some ibuprofen after the game because it was just, it's like, I heard nothing. Like, how do you not hear anything? It's like, these headphones, I'm the lucky one. It cancels out everything.
Yeah. So when I've done PA for when I did Omaha basketball, so that Gary would have had the cans on. I don't have any type of headset. I do during hockey, but I don't during basketball have a headset on. Oh, that just gets into your eardrums.
Ask the person running the music, hey, throw a little Seek and Destroy in there. Let's find out which of these kids are cool.
Or who,
my dad listens to it. My mom loves that.
Say who have very good parents. Yeah.
My mom loves White Zombie.
I got Sam McEwen here in about 5 minutes, but real quickly, let's get an update, James.
Love more human than human.
More human than. So real quickly, there was a guy that went to Millard South, 2 years older than me, good baseball player. His name was Ben Human. And we always thought the song was, we made the song into More Human, Ben Human.
Oh.
Anyway, now I digress. What do you got for an update?
What were those sounds at the beginning of the song? It's nothing. It's just breathing. Breathing. That's all it was. She's breathing. All right. Segue before we get in trouble.
Another good video, by the way.
Very good video. Yeah. Very good album. Class A girls state soccer make it 2 straight state championships for Gretna as they rally to knock off second-ranked Lincoln Southwest 5-2 in the championship match at Morrison Stadium. In Class B, it's Omaha Skutt defeating Norris in a shootout win in that state title. It's the 3rd straight state title for Skutt, with each coming in wins over Norris, the last 2 in penalty kicks or shootouts. You know what I mean. And it's the 10th in program history.
I knew
Pretty impressive.
I knew what you meant.
Morning baseball at the Chuck today. Creighton hosts Omaha. Their annual Kids Day as elementary schools from throughout the Omaha area bring in their tiny humans. If you'd like to get your Baby Shark on and take in a day baseball game, it all begins at 11 a.m. The sun will be coming out 77 and sunny this afternoon. We'll have the 7-day coming up after this with Sam. The Jays have technically lost 7 straight. Remember, the win and the completion of the first Nebraska game counts from earlier in the season. The Jays are 23-22. Omaha's 20-23. Right-hander Anthony Watts gets the start for Creighton against righty Alex Potter for Omaha. Last night, we had Game 7 in hockey as the Dallas Stars eliminated the Seattle Kraken with a 2-1 win in Game 7 on Monday night, thanks to a strong defensive effort in front of goaltender Jake Ottinger. Talk about Grubauer. Grubauer was awesome, and then he gave up that first goal. And We're not talking about the Stars goalie. He was good too. For a while, you had a feeling, oh wow, this is going to be double overtime scoreless because they were going after it. And those they talked about in the first intermission with Messier and Chelios that, oh, you want excitement with all these goals, but this is actually really good hockey. And it didn't feel boring for a scoreless game. It was
because there's a lot of good attempts, and
the crowd was into it.
Oh yeah,
and it's Game 7, which is not for the faint of heart. If you suffer from high blood pressure, even if you don't have a dog in the fight, it has a way of pulling you in. The only way that it could have been even more suspenseful is if you had Doc Emmerich on the call, because he had a way.
Oh yes,
and Wischusen I thought he had a great game. He's done a good job with hockey, but Doc had a way of just taking it to that next level to where you just needed to pace but you were afraid to leave the room because you'd end up missing something.
Because there's a scoring opportunity. Nobody called it better than Doc Emmerich. Oh. Nobody calls it better than Doc Emmerich.
Yeah. He's someone we all miss in general, just enjoying, because we could have him just read scripts here for some of the. In fact, he could do these reads like your Woodhouse one coming up here, and he would make it suspenseful.
He would rock that disclaimer.
Anyway, forwards Rupe Hintz and Wyatt Johnston had the goals for the Stars. They'll face the Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Conference Finals, which begin Friday night in Las Vegas. The Stars won all their matchups with Las Vegas this year, undefeated. The NFL is taking, and we'll talk about this as the show goes on, the NFL is taking another big step into streaming by putting one of its playoff games exclusively on a digital platform for the first time. And a big middle finger to fans, the league and NBC Universal announced Monday that the Saturday night game, hello AFC South, on Wild Card Weekend will be on Peacock. The Peacock exclusive game on January 13th will start at 7:15 or 7:30. This is Central. The game will be broadcast on NBC stations in the markets of the two teams. It will also be available on mobile devices through the NFL Plus package. They just want more money from you. It will be preceded by a late afternoon playoff game on the television on NBC and Peacock that will kick off at around 3:30 Central Time. The Oakland Athletics, speaking of middle fingers to fans, the Oakland Athletics have reached an agreement with Bally's Gaming and Leisure Properties to build a potential stadium on the Tropicana Hotel site along the Las Vegas Strip. Bally's Corp made the announcement Monday for a 30,000-seat stadium on the 35-acre site. The project is expected to cost $1.5 billion, and the A's are asking for nearly $400 million in public support from the Nevada legislature, which could vote on a proposal this week. Hey, good luck. The A's previously signed an agreement to build a stadium also on Tropicana Avenue, but on the other side of Interstate 15 that runs alongside the Strip. They were expected to ask the legislature for $500 million in public funds for the 49-acre site. So they say, we're going to ask you for $500, but instead it's $400, so it's cheaper. That would have included much more than a stadium. The new agreement is a scaled-down proposal, but the location is in closer walking distance for fans who are staying in hotels on the south end of the Strip. They hope to break ground on a new ballpark next year and open the venue in time for the 2027 season. The A's have a lease at the Oakland Coliseum through next year, and they could play the 25 and 26 seasons at Las Vegas Ballpark, home to the AAA affiliate Aviators. It's an ugly, ugly situation.
Yes, it is. All right, thanks, Jimmy. Coming up next, we're going to get into the latest of Nebraska recruiting the quarterback position. Now that we know it's official, Dylan Raiola is going to Georgia, not Nebraska. That and much more with Sam McEwen of the Omaha World Herald right after this. Hey, at Woodhouse Mazda, they've got it. It's here, finally, the all-new Mazda CX-90, the latest addition to the Mazda SUV lineup. And this is Mazda's first ever flagship three-row SUV. With available second-row captain's chairs and middle console, second-row passengers can experience the same comfort and amenities as the first row. And if you're like me and you need more room, maybe for the child and dog during trips, well, you can opt for a bench seat in the second row, which will allow you to seat up to 8 passengers in the Mazda CX-90. The available panoramic moonroof also allowing passengers to take in the outside scenery in the comfort of the vehicle. And, oh yeah, did I mention the power of the engine? Yeah, you're going to notice that too. Check it out at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com or in their showroom at Bellevue or Omaha off of 144th and Giles Road. Right now, you can get 3.9% APR for 36 months or 4.9% for 60 months on a 2024 Mazda CX-90. Chat with the sales team member online. Easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and more. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing. With approved credit, tax, title, license, extra when financed with Mazda Financial. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires 5/31/23. See dealer for full complete details.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I feel the need to stand up for bunting. I feel as if it has been crusaded against. I feel as if there is a war on bunting, Josh. They hate bunting. They hate giving up outs. Nerds. It was started by that line in Moneyball where Billy Bean says, never bunt. You're giving up an out. And I'm here to tell you it's still good for something. So once again, Connor Happer here for bunting.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Beautiful weather on the way Tuesday. We'll start off with cloudy skies, then clearing as we head through the late morning. The afternoon, expect sunny and pleasant conditions with highs in the upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Are you sick of spring allergies and itchy contacts? Get rid of them today at KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from 94th to 77th along Dodge. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for a bit of a delay from 149th to 138th. And on Center, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from 192nd to 168th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Signworks.
Since 1935, businesses all around Omaha have trusted one sign company with their visual branding, Signworks. We design, manufacture, and install signs of all kinds, including high-tech message centers like the new installation at Steelhouse Omaha. We can make your sign too. SignWorksOmaha.com.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
The final week of the regular season begins with a Tuesday matinee. The Creighton Blue Jays meet the Omaha Mavericks. Pre-game coverage begins at 10:45 a.m. First pitch at 11. Today, the Blue Jays on 1180 The Zone.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Fun fact, did you know gorillas burp when they're happy? Really? I'm glad humans don't have that issue, as it would create some awkward moments. Dave and Ryan Osted here with Osted's Golf. Looking for your happiness on the course? Book your fitting appointment today with Osted's, the nation's top 100 fitter from Callaway, Ping, Mizuno, and Golf Digest. Why get fit? On average, golfers gain 19 yards off the tee and drop their handicap by 10%. Wow, results like that will make any golfer happy. Stop in today or book your appointment on Osteds.com. All burps will be taken as a compliment.
You could throw your flip-flop at a bug.
Ew, a bug, get it.
But the chances of actually hitting it
Over there.
are statistically
It's still alive.
unlikely. Good thing nature's got your back. Stem bug killers combine powerful active ingredients found in plants, like lemongrass and geraniol, and scientifically engineer them into effective bug-fighting formulas, safe for use as directed around people, pets, and throughout the home. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
All new spring deals are here at Lowe's. Start planting your garden this weekend with Bonnie 11.8 ounce. Select 1.5 gallon hanging baskets or 2 for $16. Lowe's knows spring. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 5/17. In-store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. While supplies last, excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Rooferees.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
I got to get to this tweet real quickly in the JTech Instruction Zone Twitter feed. This from Kyle says, saying music is bad now is like saying the NBA was better when Bill Lambert was just punching dudes. I think he meant Bill Lambert. Was just punching dudes in the face and calling it defense.
Did they score?
Yeah.
They didn't score.
It's fair. It's fair. And
it was a common foul. Nobody was ejected. Nobody was suspended.
Oma Skur says, spot on most of your music takes this morning.
Along
Only
with the bad boys.
Only disagreement in Blind Melon is much more than No Rain. Granted, that was by far their most recognized song. Their entire catalog was great. One of the most underrated bands of that era. And I got to admit, I didn't go beyond No Rain, but I remember the video. And you always heard that song. You thought of the girl in the Bumblebee outfit. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, I don't doubt that, though, but appreciate the feedback there. All right, so it is official. As we led off with, Dylan Raiola is committed to Georgia, which I don't think was much of a shock. So the question is, we assume, but how prepared was his coaching staff and when and what do they do to pursue younger quarterbacks? We welcome in Sam McKeown with that and more. So, Sam, the initial news yesterday, I don't think was a shock to you, wasn't a shock to me, wasn't a shock to most people. But I think now, what would you say? It's kind of closure now, right? I mean, is that the best way to kind of label yesterday's news?
It is. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. You know, obviously, Nebraska had already begun to kind of kick the tires on some other guys, and we'll probably continue to do that here in the next several weeks, and then maybe evaluate some players as the season goes on and see what they can get. Yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska had a pretty good idea. Maybe, I don't know, sometime in April when he didn't, when Raiola decided not to start revisiting or resetting visits with other schools other than Georgia. So, I think he's obviously going to be a Bulldog. I'd be really surprised if that changed, but I mean, I suppose it's always possible, but it would surprise me. I think he's gonna land at Georgia and build a really good recruiting class, and then we'll just have to see how he does when he gets there. That's something that you can't predict at this moment. Although I think he's a very talented player.
Well, and Sam, I think a lot of people yesterday, I didn't see a lot of this on social media. It didn't seem like a lot of fans were, really upset or stunned or anything. But I think people are trying to maybe sort of evaluate how the recruiting pitch went. And I feel like we learned a good deal from this staff on how they went about recruiting a high caliber guy. What do you kind of take away from just the way the staff went about recruiting Dylan Raiola?
Well, I mean, I think there's multiple ways to look at it. You could recruit a guy really well, and say all the right things, but simultaneously you have to, have the right timing. And I think Nebraska, where it is as a program, the timing just isn't quite right. Yeah, that'd be probably the way I'd put it. The other thing I would say is that Georgia just has an army of guys dedicated to the quarterback position. I mean, they've got a lot of guys there that, when Bill is in, looking at things in the film room there, he's talking to a former head coach and Mike Bobo. He's got Brandon Streeter. He's got some other guys. So, Georgia throws a lot of resources at that. I think that's something that, that Nebraska has to, anytime you're going to recruit one of these very best ones, you have to evaluate that. And what I'll say is that, USC has that too, but I feel like there's, Georgia just impressed the Raiola family more because they've won more games, and that's pretty darn. That's a pretty darn hard thing to turn down.
Sam, you mentioned kicking tires on, some other options when it comes to getting younger in the quarterback room for Nebraska. Now without Torres there, Heinrich Haarberg would be the youngest one there. So what are you hearing? What do you see Nebraska do to try to remedy the situation, or at least try to, kind of refocus their efforts in that position?
That's a really good question. I think so. So part of it is they've got to decide and kind of figure out, is it, who wants to come at this point in the process, and whoever that guy is, does Nebraska want?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like an obvious thing, but you've got to assess here now. We're going into June. We're in mid-May. Who are you gonna, who are you gonna get to come up here, whether they're signed or unsigned, or whether they're committed or uncommitted? And then is that the guy? Because one thing you don't need to do, and you don't really want to do, is put a quarterback on your roster, and it's going to take you at least a year, to like figure out, okay, do we want this guy or not? You don't really know when they get there. And so what you don't want to do is put a QB on your roster that then keeps you from adding a fifth QB, that kind of thing. And so, obviously they'll look in the portal and they'll have to assess that and have to assess what those options might be. They'll have to assess, where things are at with 2024 quarterbacks. Kamari McClellan is coming in. He doesn't jump off the screen at me. I think you got to be able to throw the football, and McClellan's got some work to do there. I think some of the schematic stuff and some of the roster construction stuff is still sort of a work in progress. I think where Matt Rule's already very locked in is, okay, here are the guys who are here now.
Yeah.
How do we develop what's here now over the next, 2 years and get a good football program, that's on the upward trajectory? How do we create a culture and get these guys better at the sport of football? That's the first part. Then I think the second part is, okay, so now that we're building a roster, how do we do that in a way that, where Nebraska's building a roster that's better than, other rosters? And so it's amazing to me, but this is true. 6 of the 7 teams in the Big Ten West are going to have transfer quarterbacks as their starters. Minnesota is the outlier there. And I don't know however many millions of dollars that is. It's 6 times, I don't know, however much money they spend, $30 million a team. Out of $180 million, those 6 teams can't find a way to get a quarterback that they recruited to be good enough to play football for.
Yeah.
And so obviously there's something here about quarterback development, Nick. Like there's something going on in the sport where teams are just like, yeah, we're not gonna take the time. We're gonna go get a transfer because we don't have the time. So I think Matt Rule wants to make the time, but that also means that you've got to have the right guys in the system. Now, again, maybe I'm wrong about Torres. I think he would have been kept worth keeping. I do. I think that he may not have wanted to. It may not have been a choice for him. He may have wanted to just go and get out of there. But, that's one where I feel like there would have been an opportunity to bake the cake there for a couple of years and then really have an interesting player in a couple of years. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He's going to go play at Incarnate Word and we'll see. But now Nebraska has to go find a young quarterback, whether that's through the portal or not. You have to go find somebody because, Harvard's a sophomore this year. If he doesn't, if he's the number 2 guy and Sims plays for the next 2 years, then, Heinrich Haarberg, who didn't get the advantage of the COVID year, is a senior in 2 years. in 2025.
Yep.
You have to have someone else. You have to find other people who are younger. So, and I think Chubb is older than that. So, they've got to go and find some younger quarterbacks to put in the system that they can also use to challenge the starters.
Talking with Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald here on 1620 The Zone. Let me, and kind of what you were talking about in the evaluation process and what is going to be a good fit, it kind of goes into the next part of what I wanted to get into, and that is how Matt Rule is sort of talking about his camps and how they want to evaluate it. And maybe some of this off the heels of Teddy Rizak, where Nebraska maybe got in a little bit late, but being able to have evaluation on guys as early as, freshmen in high school to really get a beat on them. How big of a change is that compared to what we knew, not only just the Friday Night Lights camps being, but just how camps in general were sort of being conducted with previous staffs as far as really trying to get in the ground floor of some of these in-state guys?
Well, what I would say is Matt Rule's going to use the camps as a means of learning who the players are and beginning, to assess the strengths of said players. So I don't really think they had a chance to do that with Teddy Rizak, and I also don't think they had a chance to do that at all with the guy that's committing to Pittsburgh, Eric Ingwerson.
Mm-hmm.
So and obviously they've offered him too. I don't think they knew much about it. To be honest with you, I didn't know much about him. That I think that was the one that surprised everybody. He had 10 catches for 175 yards as a junior. But Rizak, I think we all knew and thought that might be, a late offer, and then Notre Dame defensive coordinator comes in and changes the story. And Nebraska was just caught a little flat-footed, and that happens. That's okay. I think the difference here is that Rizak's a kid that's exactly what they're looking for, which is a frame with good times and good athleticism, and that would have been somebody they would have enjoyed having in the program. I think going forward the camps will help them with that, but also simultaneously Nebraska's got to be just really sharp about recruiting Omaha, specifically Omaha. They have to recruit Omaha in a way that's different than how they've been recruiting. They need to recruit Omaha like it's Kansas City or it's St. Louis or Chicago. That's how they have to recruit it. You can't recruit it like it's an extension of Lincoln. The two towns are very different. And I think if there is an impression that they're the same, then, and I'm not saying there is, but if any impression that those two towns are the same, or that the aspirations of the high school football players in those two towns is the same, well, they're not. So I think that there's something there. I think Matt Rule is going to have to be pretty involved in in-state recruiting if that in-state recruiting is outside the city of Lincoln and maybe outside of the I-80 corridor going west.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Carter Nelson's not going to be easy to land. Ben Bramer, they didn't get him. Like, all these kids who live away from the I-80 going west or in Lincoln, they're not going to be tied to Nebraska that way. Maybe the Scotts Bluff kids, because Garrett Nelson came here.
Sure.
And now Brock Knudsen, and maybe they'll all come. But a lot of these will not just automatically come to Nebraska. You're going to have to recruit them because the way that kids are today, and this is not specific to Nebraska kids, but just kids today, they don't want to stick around. They don't want to be where they're at. They want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to go see the world. And so you got to convince them that they're going to see the world at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln as student athletes, not just as football players. But you have to convince them of that, and you have to recruit them as if the experience that they're going to get at Nebraska is a foreign experience. In other words, it's different from the one that they have now. So the presumption that you're always going to be able to say, well, you can play in front of your family and friends, that works when you're a fifth-year senior. And a kid like Josiah Alec wants to come back and do that for one. But it doesn't always work when you've been playing in front of your family and friends for 10 years and you want to go do something else.
Yep. Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald. Sam, great stuff as always, my man. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the week.
All right, take care.
All right, so we are going to continue talking some Nebraska football and continue to take a look at some of their opponents of 2023 and a little spring recap. We'll talk some Northern Illinois with Eddie what did I have this written down? Carifio, that's right, of the Daily Chronicle. I was going to say Carafello. I was going to make it sound more exotic, but yes.
You're going to say Farabello?
Farabello.
Put it in your head. You're going to end up saying
Don't do that. Don't do that to me. But real quickly, when we come back, there was kind of an interesting moment last night in the Yankees-Blue Jays game where different opinions off of a subtle look by Aaron Judge. We'll explain that coming up next year on 1620 The Zone. Hey, DJ's Dugout wants to say thank you, Omaha. They are celebrating their 30th year in business and serving you, and they are having a huge birthday bash on Sunday, May 28th at Warner Park. And you're invited. Enjoy free concert featuring Omaha's own Lemon Fresh Day. It goes on from 5 to 9 p.m. Gates open at 3 p.m. Free admission, free family fun zone, free parking. You see the theme there, a little free stuff going on. Clear bag policy will be enforced, but it's going to be an outstanding birthday bash with DJ's Dugout and Lemon Fresh Day. And again, it is all free. It's DJ's way of saying thank you for supporting them for 30 great years. Don't miss DJ's Dugout birthday bash, May 28th at Warner Park.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. It's the 5K giveaway on 1620 The Zone. Enter to win a $5,000 shopping spree right now at 1620thezone.com. It's the 5K giveaway on 1620 The Zone.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
You like bare knuckle fighting? You like Houston Alexander? That's a great combo. It is back at Liberty First Arena over in Ralston. Houston Alexander, 3-0. You're on a win streak.
And it's about to be 4-0.
All right, so we're going to fight Jeremy Smith coming up on May 19th. Why bare knuckle fighting for you?
Well, because I started off street fighting, and it just transitioned to boxing. Now it's transitioning to bare knuckle. So that was an easy transition to make.
What are people going to expect? They are familiar with you, other than beating Jeremy Smith. What can they expect?
You know what? It's just not me. The atmosphere, the crowd, the participation. It's a different setting from UFC or any type of other event. It's more, to me, it's more exciting. So just more excitement.
BKFC 43 coming up on May 19th at First Liberty Arena in Ralston. You want to talk a little smack?
The only smack I talk is when I'm in the ring smacking people around.
That's Houston Alexander. You can see him on May 19th in Ralston.
At Lanahaw, we take pride in producing locally grown trees that are proven hardy for our Midwest winters, unpredictable springs, and scorching summers. Trust the nursery that grows more handcrafted trees in Nebraska than anyone else. From our farms to your yard. We're proud to be your homegrown headquarters for nearly 50 years. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
At Metal Supermarkets, we're all about getting you and your crew to quit in time sooner. That's why our service is a cut above. You see, no matter the project, we'll get you to the right metal, shape, and grade. Cut to any size, ready real fast. And yeah, we'll deliver, leaving plenty of time for the important things, like opening an ice-cold can of aluminum. To find a store near you, go to metalsupermarkets.com.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
This Wednesday, that's tomorrow, May 17th, get entered to win a fishing gear prize pack. It includes a Yeti soft cooler, tackle box, and some Woodhouse swag. Imagine if it had a car in it. Anyway, plus, when you win a Woodhouse Wednesday prize pack, you'll be entered to win the grand prize of $2,600. Get all the details at 1620thezone.com. I got you, Dr. Octagon. There you go.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
We had a request.
This was a good one from Guns N' Roses. You Could Be Mine. So did you, I don't know how many of you were dialed into, unless you are a Yankees fan or you're one of the very few Blue Jay fans we have, not Creighton Blue Jays, but the Toronto Blue Jay fans that we have in the Omaha area. But if you were watching last night's game or you saw some Sports Center highlights, you would have noticed that right before Aaron Judge just absolutely murdered a baseball, there was a moment, and this is what led to an Aaron Boone ejection during the AB, that there was a little bit of a disagreement between Aaron Boone and the Yankees dugout and the home plate umpire. But at moments during this at-bat, and it happened like on 3 different occasions, Aaron Judge, you would see right before the pitch was thrown, he would glance into the Yankees dugout. The fact that the cameras were picking this up was actually remarkable, because if you're just watching it in real
I thought
time,
the Astros were the only team cheating.
you didn't see it, and you're going to a place that no one was really talking about.
Because they're the only team that does stuff like that.
Well, yeah, nobody else does it. You know what, though? Very cheap.
You know what? Championship rings look good on middle fingers, so whatever.
But anyway, if you're looking, you see this in real time, I think it's impossible to pick up Aaron Judge glancing, because he's just like, he's glancing his eye line over to the dugout. He's not like turning his head noticeably and looking at the dugout. So it happens once, it happens twice, it happens a third time, and then a pitch later, Aaron Judge, and also, by the way, Aaron Boone gets rung and thrown out during this at-bat. Aaron Judge hits a towering home run to center field. Yankees, who were already up at the time, they ended up winning that game, holding on to win. Aaron Judge, after the game, said that he was looking into the dugout because his teammates were chirping a lot at the home plate umpire, and he was Aaron Judge trying to be the peacemaker, trying to defuse the situation. And, like, it was believable. Like, you think if you, because there was one strike that was called against Aaron Judge that was clearly low in the zone. It was a ball. And that's the one that got Aaron Boone irate, and that was the last straw for Aaron Boone. But Aaron Judge, the way he explained it, I thought was believable. I'm like, okay, you're trying to, like, you're looking at the dugout and you want your guys to stop because you think it might affect your at bat. You think you might have some balls that are out of the zone that might be called strikes, just like one that led to your manager's ejection. But it was the all-knowing eyes of the home team radio or TV announcers, and one of my favorites, Dan Schulman, and then Buck Martinez, who, like you said, Jimmy, painted sort of a different picture of why Aaron Judge might be looking into his own dugout. And that could be, dare I say,
and if Buck is saying it, I mean, these are baseball people, so they're not.
Well, and Dan Schulman took the very diplomatic approach and said, you don't want to go accusing people of anything. But
yeah, Dan's not going to do that.
But it's very interesting that you're looking into the dugout that many times. So as much as I bought and took the bait of Aaron Judge's explanation of why he was looking in the dugout, I think Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez also have at least a valid concern of, was there some type of tipping off of the signs, especially with the given result of a mammoth home run of Aaron Judge. Now, Aaron Judge, I don't think, needs to be tipped off when it comes to being able to blast the ball into another galaxy. But it was interesting. That is one of the very few times you caught Aaron Judge actually kind of like glancing into the Yankees dugout. Rob Manfred going to investigate? Or did you take Aaron Judge at his word? That I was just mad at my own teammates.
The
and didn't
Yankees
want
are
them
in
to
so much
impact.
trouble, the Athletics are going to get it.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. It was getting a lot of conversation for just a couple glances. But hey, who knows? You know, for the Yankees, though, if they are cheating, shame on them. Should be a lot better than you are right now.
Exactly. That's the moral here. Do better.
Yeah, do better. If you're going to cheat, either don't get caught or do better with cheating. And there it is. All right, so we're going to continue our 2023 Nebraska opponent post-spring previews as we will talk to Eddie Carifio of the Daily Chronicle in DeKalb. He will tell us everything we need to know about yet again another 3-9 team, much like La Tech from a year ago. How does Northern Illinois look to rebound? We will get into all of that coming up next year on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from 94th to 77th along Dodge. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for a bit of a delay from 149th to 138th. And on Center, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from 192nd to 168th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Honk if you love trucks and bucks. The Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch ticket is back, and you could get one of 8 beautiful new trucks. Visit any Nebraska Lottery retailer and play today. Top prize odds, 1 in 336,000.
Peerless Energy Systems is Nebraska and Iowa's locally owned and operated authorized solar air compressor distributor. Peerless Energy Systems provides products and solutions for compressed air systems, helping companies in manufacturing, food processing, transportation, auto body repair, car dealers, and more. Driving industry efficiency through service, support, and relationships, let Peerless Energy Systems help you increase efficiency with your compressed air systems today. PeerlessEnergy.com.
It's time to find a career that's right for you. Metropolitan Community College can help you find a new path forward on your time. Whether you need a degree that puts you on a path to a new career or need to finish a degree you've already started, MCC makes it affordable and convenient with a flexible class schedule, online or on campus. It's your time to path forward. Let MCC show you the way. Apply today at mccneb.edu/adults.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. Beautiful spring weather has arrived, which means summer is right around the corner. This is the perfect time for you to take advantage of the great deals that they have at Kugler Vision. Why do glasses and contact wearers from all over Nebraska travel to see the folks at Kugler Vision? Because they tackle tough vision problems. Schedule a consultation today, 402-558-2211 or KuglerVision.com.
Everyone knows Sol's pays top dollar for your gold, but Sol's pays cash on the spot for your precious metals too. Silver, gold, platinum, coins, bars. Who wants to wait to get paid? Get to Sol's Jewelry and Loan.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but costs as low as $3 per dose? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at just $3 per dose. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but only $3 per dose. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street, next to Cubby's. It's Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
Continuing to take a look at the 2023 Nebraska football opponents and post-spring breakdown. We've talked to Minnesota. We talked Colorado. We didn't do this on purpose, we skipped Northern Illinois, which will be the home opener on the 16th, and then we talked La Tech yesterday. But we are excited to kind of circle back to the home opener, and that'll be on the 16th of September, week 3 of the college football season, as Nebraska takes on Northern Illinois. Excited to be talking about the Huskies with Eddie Criffio of the Daily Chronicle out there in DeKalb. Eddie, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing well. And I wish we could be talking about both squads, Nebraska and Northern Illinois, coming off of, at least a bowl season or better times with the football program. But that is not the case for both the Huskers and Northern Illinois. So when you take a look at last year's season in a 3-9 campaign, what were the main talking points? What jumped off the page of a disappointing season last year?
If you put the injuries aside, that was a huge factor for NIU. Top 2 quarterbacks end up going down. Obviously, there were high expectations for Rocky Lombardi, the starter, transferred in from Michigan State a couple of years ago. Obviously, had the year he had leading them to the MAC title in 21. He got injured, and then his backup, Ethan Hampton, I believe he was a freshman last year. He got injured as well. So then it was going with your third string quarterback, trying to find your third string quarterback even one. So that was a big thing. You want to go past, obviously it was every position. The secondary was also pretty hurt, especially cornerback. Not coincidentally, that was probably the biggest on the field weak spot. Even when healthy, the secondary was very easily torchable. So that's definitely an area that they have tried to work on in the offseason. They bring in a transfer, Shad Dabney, who's looked really good. I believe he came in from Kansas, trying to strengthen up the secondary. So that was definitely a glaring weak spot for the Huskies last year.
And as we kind of begin all of these previews too, when it does come, and you mentioned just one right there on a transfer portal, as far as Northern Illinois compared to maybe some of the other teams in the MAC and just in college football in general, how active has this program been when it does come to the transfer portal?
I'd say probably on par, maybe a little less so, both going in and coming out of the portal. It's always like, oh my God, the sky's falling. How could they lose this guy?
Yeah.
And then it gets mitigated when you see the guys who come in. So I think the final tally was maybe half a dozen out, maybe 8 leaving, and they brought in, I want to say it was about a half a dozen or so. I know they just brought in a kicker from Ohio State through the portal. That was so far their one post-spring move.
Okay. And, overall, spring, we're talking about position battles. We're talking about development and so many things that kind of go into spring that you don't know how it's going to sort of impact the upcoming season, but you get maybe a better feel, especially for some key positions that you need to fill. So as far as how spring sort of looked for Northern Illinois and how they came out of it, what was your assessment there?
Defensively, very impressed, especially in the front seven. You have to put a big ass. I mean, obviously, there's some skepticism with the secondary given how they performed last year. Plus, it didn't help that on offense, Lombardi was still not really playing at all.
Right.
He would do some non-contact throwing, but he wasn't even cleared, I don't think, until the last week. So he didn't really do much. And they were without their top receiver, Trayvon Rudolph, who I think he missed all last year. A couple years, he was one of the big injuries. That was like the harbinger because that happened in the practices, and that was kind of didn't know it at the time, obviously, but that kind of set the tone for everyone's getting hurt this year. So he still wasn't back for the spring. So grading the defense obviously is on that sliding scale with 2 of the best offensive players out, especially in the passing game. Makes it hard to kind of do it the secondary string. But that front seven, man, they look good. Rashawn Thomas was selected by the coaches as the MVP defensive lineman, I believe junior this year, just totally up this game. And I was just handing out the awards. I was maybe half, maybe 2/3 of the practices.
Yeah,
I would have thought they were going to give it to Davin Rayner, linebacker. He was just everywhere. You name a play, he was making it. Junior linebacker. Both of these guys have come up from within the program. So it's that front seven is really, I think, is going to be really good for them this year.
I do want to go back to quarterback. You mentioned Rocky Lombardi, and again, trying to just be healthy here this next year too. And I was looking at the roster yesterday, and I noticed Justin Lynch, who anybody who follows Northern Illinois football remembers the great Jordan Lynch, and I don't need to remind Iowa fans about Jordan Lynch in Northern Illinois either. But as far as the quarterback room, I assume this is still Rocky Lombardi's job, but as far as the depth behind him, what does that kind of look like right now? And maybe even furthermore, what's the expectation for, this final year for Rocky Lombardi and what kind of year he could have?
Well, the expectations for Lombardi are sky high. I mean, obviously he wants to catch on with an NFL team. I mean, obviously that's the goal. And then there were the usual rumblings you hear heading into last year before the injury. So, I mean, the goals are absolutely sky high for Lombardi. As for the depth, it was the Ethan Hampton show in the spring. He was healthy. He was back from his injury, and he was running the first team offense. And it is absolutely his show. Lynch, it was a weird situation with how they used Lynch. He played some, but they used him as a runner. He barely threw the ball last year. If you look at his stats, you think he didn't play, but he played a bunch when they were down their top two backs, but just never threw the ball.
Yeah.
So that's how they thought it was most effective. Because when he was at Temple before he transferred in, he was used. I don't want to say somewhat more normal pocket passer, but definitely was throwing the ball a lot more than NIU was. So using him for. So that's kind of interesting. I know they wanted to give him a red shirt last year. And he was like, then this was supposed to be the year he was supposed to start replacing Rocky and fight with Hampton for the spot. Obviously, those plans changed. So I don't know if the plan, I would assume the plan is they're probably going to try to redshirt him this year. So he's already a junior. So that's it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, they're hoping none of this has to come to fruition,
right.
and it's all Lombardi.
We're talking Northern Illinois football. Eddie Carriffio of the Daily Chronicle in DeKalb, Illinois. Nebraska will take on Northern Illinois. That'll be the home opener after the Huskers play their first two games on the road on the 16th of September is when they will welcome in Northern Illinois. I don't know how much discussion this one gets, Eddie. We know Nebraska has a history with Northern Illinois and not always great. A lot of us remember in 2017 when that Northern Illinois team comes into Lincoln and they pull off a big-time upset. But I just feel like Northern Illinois, in its DNA, has experienced – I mentioned Jordan Lynch and that Northern Illinois team going into Iowa City and beating Iowa that year. This is a team, this is a program. I don't get the sense that is overly shocking when they're able to kind of take a bite out of a Power 5 team the way they have. I mean, is that, kind of what you're seeing with Coach Hammock and the way that this program from a culture standpoint is still kind of geared around?
Absolutely. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't think they played a Power 5 school last year. I'm like almost positive.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember other than Tulsa who the other one was.
Yeah.
But, it might have been Vandy and they might have lost. So maybe that does kind of put a bite in that argument. But I know during the MAC championship run 2 years ago, that started with a win down at Georgia Tech.
Yep.
So they have gotten that was obviously that. Pretty sure that opened the season. That set the tone, obviously, for that run. Like you said, it's in their DNA getting these wins. Obviously, 2017 is coming. There was 2017, right, when they went out to.
Yep, we came into Lincoln and pick six right out of the gate. And we're like, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, that was obviously something that still is talked about, and it's something it's something the school plays up, the MAC plays up. There's a whole boneyard win. School calls them when they go into a Power 5 school and win. Obviously, like I said, Georgia Tech a couple of years ago, probably the biggest boneyard win under Hammock. Two chances this year with you guys, and I think they go up to Boston College. I want to say the Bucks there.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask too about the schedule. You open up at Boston College that Memorial Labor Day weekend, first week of college football. Then it's a home game against Southern Illinois. Then back on the road against Nebraska. before you get to Tulsa at home. So as far as kind of what this team showed, and you mentioned the injuries of this group, but what this team could be, do you kind of get the sense that, going into that first week of MAC action that Coach Hammock's going to have a pretty good idea of what this team is about?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, that was the case a couple of years ago too. I'm pretty sure they went in 2-2. They had the win at Georgia Tech. I think that's what they're looking for here. Get at least one of these wins against Nebraska or at Boston College. Get that boneyard win, and then that should give them a good sense of what's going on. Hammock has always had the focus on the MAC, winning the MAC. So he's very self-aware of what these games are, especially as a MAC school when you're playing a Power 5 school, and what they need. So he's very aware of that situation, and I think that translates over to college.
I'm always interested in this too, and you mentioned that the success that Northern Illinois has had in the MAC, and in a team, I think a program that has a pretty solid identity amongst its peers in this new era of college football. We spend so much time talking about a lot of the Power 5 NIL deals with all these recruits and all these transfers. When it comes to Northern Illinois in that world, in NIL, how would you say they're positioned? Are they in a pretty decent spot? Is there still some room to for improvement there? Where is NIU kind of in that category?
For starters, it's good luck getting anyone to talk about this stuff. So this is all just what I'm about to say is the sense I'm getting.
Yeah.
But it is very small townish, and I don't mean that negatively like they're lacking. I just mean, for instance, one of the most, I guess, high-profile NIL deals is there's a local restaurant that's very closely associated. They have like a signature dish that everyone talks about when everyone comes, oh, you got to get the Cajun potato salad. This whole thing. Like, they sponsor the offensive line.
Okay.
They also sponsor Rocky Lombardi's show that he has on a local podcast network out here. And now sponsoring means they sponsor Rocky, I think they have a sandwich named after him. So I think that's kind of the level of the NIL stuff that you're seeing right now. Obviously, there is not the opportunity that either a big city or a Power 5 school has, but I definitely think in terms of, like you said, their peers, I think they're on par or possibly even ahead.
Yeah. It's always interesting to kind of take a look at, the group of five and see where they're at with that. I want to end on this too. And again, we talked about the injuries from a year ago and maybe where this team sort of missed the mark a year ago. What is kind of the belief with this team that not only they can have a bounce back, but where they could ultimately contend in the MAC this year? I mean, is there a strong belief that Northern Illinois is right back into that mix, especially with a healthy Rocky Lombardi?
Yeah, I mean, obviously internally, from what you can gather, it's there. The thing I've always sensed about this iteration of the team with Hammock is they definitely play good with a chip on their shoulder. They play so well when everyone's counting them out, and that sort of thing, because they were 0-6 in 2020. Pretty sure they were picked last in the MAC when they ended up winning it, and they went out and did what they did in 2021. Then you look at last year. I mean, again, there were circumstances with the injuries, but at least one veteran player said that the young players maybe didn't have that chip on their shoulders, or that motivation that the older guys had going through that 2020 year. So now those young guys have their 2020 was what happened last year. So from the terms of that tangible standpoint, from the nobody believes in us, again, they excel at doing well under those circumstances. Under Hammock, that's set up for them. Like you said, with Rocky back, that's set up for them. So it's Rudolph back, obviously a big deal. Improved front seven, hopefully an improved secondary for their sake. So the pieces are all definitely in place for a big bounce back for.
It's just like another team out in the state of Illinois, Northwestern. They seem to, you count them out, and then they seem to have a good little bounce back too. I don't know. Maybe it's something out there in Illinois. It might be the real possibility.
Northern Illinois, they're up here. They're north too. Maybe it is just north. It's Northern Illinois.
Eddie, really appreciate you joining us. Have a great summer, and maybe we'll catch back up with you as we get ready for Nebraska, Northern Illinois.
Okay, sounds good. Look forward to it.
That is Eddie Criffio, Daily Chronicle in DeKalb. Northern Illinois and Nebraska will go head-to-head in Nebraska's home opener of the 2023 season. That'll be on the 16th of September. And Northern Illinois 3-9 last year.
Yeah,
and
before you know it.
It will be. What did Sharpie say? So I think we're at 16 Saturdays?
I think so.
16 Saturdays until college football. But, Northern Illinois.
In grown-up time, that's like a few weeks. In kid time, it's like several years.
It depends on how you look at it. If you start dwelling on it, then it is going to feel like 16 weeks.
Oh, there's no dwelling. There's no dwelling. People are excited. People are excited.
I know, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But if you start like, okay, come on, you're going minute by minute, hour by hour. Don't do that. Don't play that game. Enjoy
day by day.
Enjoy your summer first.
There.
But Northern Illinois is another team.
You can read Phil Steele's preview at the pool.
Yes,
there. That's how you enjoy your summer. Actually, I do that every year.
That should be out right around College World Series time, too. And Northern Illinois will be an interesting one because Rocky Lombardi, we all remember from Michigan State, who really had sort of that breakout moment for a handful of games before it kind of tapered off. But then he finds a good landing spot at Northern Illinois, has a tremendous 2021 season en route to Northern Illinois winning the MAC that year. But then last year was obviously a down year. So is there a bounce back? And as you heard there from Eddie, the goal would be between Boston College, who they get right out of the gate on the road, and then Nebraska to try to grab one of those. You go into MAC play, sitting there about 2-2 in conference play or non-conference play, and away you go. So that is always an opponent that I think is always going to have Nebraska's attention going back to the 2017 game in what was a very bad Nebraska team, but also a Northern Illinois team, even without Jordan Lynch at the quarterback spot, was more than capable of doing that to other teams. So we shall see. All right, we are going to continue talking some college football here a little bit later, but we got another update with Jimmy.
I thought you forgot my name for a second. It's like,
No.
we might have a
a
bigger problem.
I was going to try to do the what did the guys before us do? The DeLap, the DeLap.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to see if I could anyway put like a Jim, But maybe we can start doing some Seinfeld references of the Jimmy's got some moves. Yeah, Jimmy.
That's why it's radio. You can believe anything.
Jimmy's down. Jimmy's down.
Third day of state baseball yesterday at Werner Park in Class A. Lincoln East and Millard West get victories in the winners bracket. In the elimination bracket, Bellevue West and Grand Island get wins as well. In Class B, at Tal Anderson, Elkhorn North, and Norris score victories, while in the elimination bracket, Gross and Scott get the wins. The Storm Chasers are back home tonight after Sunday's dramatic road victory as they welcome Toledo to Werner Park. First pitch at 6:35. In the NBA, the quest to vomit for Victor culminates with tonight's NBA draft lottery. The Pistons, Rockets, and San Antonio Spurs have the greatest odds to land the number one pick in June's draft and the shot to draft Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs hope history repeats itself 26 years after they last won the lottery, selecting the great Tim Duncan with the first pick way back in 1997. No pressure. It's just the, fate of our franchise. And
yeah.
No
big deal.
Whether they're going to continue in San Antonio, that's a whole different can of worms.
May the Chicago Blackhawk luck be with all of you teams.
No, just my team.
Okay.
That's my team. I don't care about the other teams.
I saw you try to speak it into existence on your Facebook. That's right. I saw your Facebook post the other day.
The other teams can eat. Well, you know what? But so
eat a big bag of. No,
never mind. EBOT. Yeah. It's not whether you have fun, it's whether you win or lose. Following that, it's game one of the Western Conference Finals as the top-seeded Denver Nuggets host the surging 7-seeded Los Angeles Lakers. The Nuggets have been off since eliminating the Suns last Thursday, while the Lakers enter the Warriors bid to repeat on Friday night. This is the fourth time the Lakers and Nuggets have met in the West Finals. LA has won the previous three times, winning in 5, 6, and 5 games in 1985, 2009, and the 2020 bubble, respectively. The Eastern Conference Finals begin tomorrow night between the Celtics and Heat in Boston. In the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to re-sign quarterback Mason Rudolph. Rudolph signed a one-year extension that expired after last season, and the Steelers allowed him to hit free agency in March. I guess it didn't go well. Re-signing him allows the Steelers to maintain veteran quarterback depth behind starter Kenny Pickett.
So he took himself out of the transfer portal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can keep the quarterback room from the previous season intact with your boy Mitch Trubisky also under contract for next season.
That's a solid group all of a sudden with Pickett. Trubisky,
no Neil
Mason?
O'Donnell and Bubby Brister. I'll tell you that. No Mark Malone.
Steelers fan, where are you at? Get excited. You got Mason Rudolph back. Took himself out of the portal because he knows that the culture under Mike Tomlin, which in all seriousness, Mike Tomlin is a fantastic coach, and I could I could think of probably a lot more players that would love to be a part of that locker room. But man, that quarterback room.
You know, if they had
Sterling,
if they run the ball 45 times, it'd be okay. In baseball, Shohei Ohtani became the first starting pitcher since 1964 to reach base 5 times in a game as the Angels beat the Orioles 9-5 last night.
But he could hit a double.
He
had a double and you get a cycle and you start. Come on.
He had 4 hits and a walk, making up for the pitching struggles with a stellar performance at the plate. He hit a titanic 3-run homer and finished a double shy of the cycle on a night the Orioles hit 3 home runs off him.
I expect a little more out of a varsity letterman.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of varsity letterman, good job. You're not even reading my script. College basketball, Duke guard Jeremy Roach will reign with the Blue Devils next season after entering his name into the NBA draft in April. The 6'2 junior maintained his college eligibility all along, and on Monday, he announced, as they all do on social media, that he was to return. In April, he made the NBA announcement, of course, on social media, saying he was looking forward to getting feedback on his game during pre-draft workouts, which is good. That's what you do.
Yep.
He was the number 2 scorer at 14 points per game for a team that won the ACC tournament. By the way, the ACC, that's a whole dumpster fire. That's a different conversation. Roach was coming off a strong postseason performance at a Final Four run in 2022 and battled through a lingering toe injury that briefly sidelined him as a team captain last season. Yeah, that ACC, you talked about the Big Ten owners, athletic directors meeting. We're going to fire this thing up again this summer.
Who do you think has a more
content,
a more melancholy meeting, the ACC athletic directors or the Pac-12? Because you got the ACC. I mean, look, you've had some success with teams in your football product, but there's the how long is our rights deal?
The Pac-12's having theirs at Husky Stadium in Seattle. You know, there are a lot of great breweries they could go to instead. Let's just sit around and toast to the end of the Pac-12.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being out in the Pacific Northwest if I got to get together and talk about our failing conference.
But the ACC, that's interesting because a lot of the ADs got out of their meeting yesterday and said they could not talk to media. And usually when that starts happening, there's some stuff going on. It brings back a lot of memories, especially around these parts.
Were they able to lawyer up and get out of that grant of rights deal?
If they get enough schools together. So basically, if you're thinking about, well, what are we going to talk about this summer? Have no fear. It keeps on delivering year after year.
It's like an insane amount of time to be locked into their current really miserable TV deal.
Yeah.
Like I think there is a lot of upside to the ACC. Now, if they join forces, and there's probably a way, I'm not a lawyer, but there's probably a way that you can sort of amend the grant of rights with a new TV deal, but
everybody has their price.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I feel like there's a way of doing that, but dang.
You know that meme of the girl with the house burning in the background?
Yeah.
It's that.
Mm-hmm.
Just here for the chaos.
And at some point, I think the Pac-12 athletic directors, maybe they've accepted, much like Nebraska fans have, that Dylan Raiola is not coming to Nebraska and going to Georgia, that the Pac-12 athletic directors have just conceded to the fact that, hey, we're going to be in a different conference in a matter of years. So
Pac-12 football on the CW after Charm.
Maybe they can get like Alyssa Milano and Shannon Doherty to do like some promos. Yeah?
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Here's James Vanderbeek for Pac-12 football. Tell us, Dawson.
Where's Pacey at? That would be good. Yeah. See, now we're on to something.
And Paula Cole do the theme song for the games.
You got to know your demo. You intermingle it on the CW. Pac-12 is going to announce a blockbuster deal on the CW, and there's also going to be
Gilmore
some type
Girls.
of
Was that CW?
I'm sure at some point it was.
I always get confused with theirs. We play a game, CW or Fox.
What was
especially from that? I mean, you get the low-hanging fruit like Melrose Place. Oh, Fox, but yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Fox started getting real salacious type stuff, though, like Cheating Island or something. I don't even know what it's called, but like
that farmer show that they showed during the Super Bowl.
Remember? God, this was a while back, wasn't it? Joe Millionaire.
Yes.
Where he was portrayed to be a millionaire, but really he was just an average Joe.
He was just Joe.
I think he was like you could actually make a lot of money in the construction racket, but I think he was like in construction, yet they portrayed him to be like I think some type of trust fund guy. Yeah, and he was a millionaire, and I think I watched a few of those just because I was curious to see how that would go, and then I'm like, okay.
And he says modern music sucks.
It does. It still does.
He's not wrong.
No, I'm not. All right. Thanks, Jimmy. Coming up, we are going to take a look. Speaking of the Big Ten, Big Ten and the NFL, I think, have courted a new pretty maid when it comes to TV. And they continue to make some big moves, big announcements. It impacts Nebraska, impacts the Big Ten, and what we love in our NFL viewing. We'll tell you about that.
If you listen to the station, it impacts you.
It does. And this one kind of slipped through the cracks that I caught last night of a former. It is. Well, and I don't even know if he wanted it to be, but the Aaron Rodgers mania is sweeping through the NFL, even with people that have not been in the league in years that now want to team up. And I will ask you the question if it's a good idea for this particular individual to possibly team up with Aaron Rodgers. We got that and more. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone. And 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
4th place in 1944's Running of the Roses. The horse's name, Shut Up.
Simple, tasteful.
So this was also probably a little vulgar.
And they probably had a whole segment on 1944 Sports Talk Radio about how they were a horrible example for the kids.
Is society crumbling because the horse's name was Shut Up? This is 1944. We're trying to win a war here, and your horse's name is Shut Up.
I love your 1944 guy.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Beautiful weather on the way Tuesday. We'll start off with cloudy skies, then clearing as we head through the late morning. The afternoon, expect sunny and pleasant conditions with highs in the 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect a significant slowdown eastbound along I-680 near the ramp from I-80 North and the ramp from I-80 West. Along L Street, be prepared for significant delays from 90th to 108. On Center, it looks like there's going to be some significant slowdowns from 183rd to 175th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Honk if you love trucks and bucks. The Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch ticket is back, and you could get one of 8 beautiful new trucks. Visit any Nebraska Lottery retailer and play today. Top prize odds, 1 in 336,000.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many used to take a person. Boy, were they. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
It's good to be able to make a change, to never feel stuck. That's why at Cox, we're making a change too. Now Cox Internet plans are flexible, so you can choose to just go with Internet, add TV tomorrow, or home automation down the line. It's easier than ever to get just what you want and nothing you don't. Flexible plans from Cox. Change anytime. No commitments, no penalties. See for yourself at cox.com/internet. Additional services can be added at then current regular rates. All services subject to residential customer service agreement and acceptable use policy. Restrictions apply.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. Choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. you'll learn what matters most to you. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now try Babbel for free by texting radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000. That's RADIO to 64,000.
DQ presents The Sound of Summer Calling. Hey, it's me, Summer. I know you're busy with Beach Days Little League games and all the other fun in the sun, but you gotta get to DQ ASAP Pronto right now. The new Summer Blizzard menu is here, and it brought 5 iconic summer flavors, like new peanut butter puppy chow and s'mores. Oh yeah, it's back. Oh, that's my other line. Everyone is pumped about this new DQ Summer Blizzard menu. I gotta go. See ya, DQ. Get it in the app. DQ. Happy tastes good.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Going to be talking to Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 Sports, in just about 20 minutes from now. Jimmy, you mentioned yesterday when we were kind of going off, and by the way, I really did appreciate your passion in talking about the lack of visibility. Well, that too. You know I respect that. You know I feel you on that. But the fact that you talked with so much passion in the visibility of the ESPN hockey product, which I totally agree with you. And I know you were talking about, how Josh had sent out a tweet about that too. And we kind of reminisced of when NBC, the family of networks, would carry the...
You could tell they put a lot of care into the product.
And the hockey product.
They went all in, and they did it with a lot of class.
Again, even when it was so bizarre in like the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs one year, and I can't remember why this was the case, but one year they had to have one game on the Golf Channel because that is part of the NBC family. That was weird because we're getting promos of like the PGA Championship just around the corner, and then all right, back in second period action. That it was weird, but you're right. The product was good. The visibility was good. They did a good job of, I think, just taking it to a level that hockey fans and even casual sports fans would appreciate. And yes, a big part of that was because of Doc Emmerich. Now you've got ESPN with their hand in just about everything. With the ESPN Plus subscription, I mean, there's so much that you can see. Speaking of the PGA Championship that gets underway on Thursday in New York, you've got a lot of the featured holes. Like there's a lot about ESPN Plus that I am a big fan of when it comes to availability of sports that otherwise you have to kind of wait until later in the day, like golf, to be able to get any kind of consistent coverage or live coverage. So I do appreciate ESPN Plus from that standpoint. And their reach. I mean, it's global. It's huge. But my gosh, NBC all of a sudden is making some moves. Like Jimmy's got some moves. NBC's got some moves. So it was announced yesterday in the Big Ten that the Michigan State-Ohio State game, November 12th, I believe, will be NBC prime time. So there's a little bit of an idea of what exactly. Remember, the whole Big Ten will not have night games. Games under the lights in November unless...
And we knew that would change, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all right. They in the Midwest, they have coats. They know how to wear them. And
People have survived many, many years of doing things at night outdoors in November.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed what you can accomplish when you have a heads up. So you have that announcement yesterday. So one of the big primetime matchups in the NBC lineup will be Michigan State, Ohio State on November 12th. But then also, this one dropped last night. And this, again, goes to the direction that I think just viewing sports in general is heading. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are not wild about this, but it also shows you the NFL's flexibility on how they want people to view their product, that they are now going to have a Peacock exclusive playoff game on January 13th. That'll be on Wild Card Weekend. That'll be a Saturday night game. That'll start at either 8:15 or 8:30 Eastern time, so 7:15, 7:30 East or Central time here. That you will have a game that will be broadcast on NBC stations in the markets of the two teams. So
Omaha's not one of them.
Right. We're not one of them, so don't think that all of a sudden we're just going to have a playoff team in there.
And if you're in Kansas City, they're not going to put the Chiefs on the streaming either. They'll be with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
That is true.
Even if it's not on CBS.
That is
Tony
true.
will be with them.
So you will have it available in the two markets on just your normal NBC affiliate. But then beyond that, you will have it available on mobile devices through the NFL Plus package, and then
more money
exclusively on the Peacock app or Peacock streaming service. Do you have Peacock?
We do.
Good. Don't get rid of it. As I have,
but I don't like the principle, and that problem is that's kind of the arrogance of the league, in that they're thinking you're going to watch anyway, and they're right. People are. That's like the Amazon Prime.
That's exactly what it is. And this is why I say good on NBC, because NBC is benefiting from this. And the more
now, if all the fans took a stand and didn't watch, but they're not going to do that.
Which is not going to happen. So think about the amount. If you're not already a Peacock subscriber and you are a team where, say, you are in Omaha, for instance, and the Eagles, you're an Eagles fan. I
have no fear. If you're in Jacksonville and you're going to be in this Peacock game, they will show it on the local NBC affiliate. If you're in Nashville, Indy, Houston, so just getting you prepared. Like, you'll be able to watch it.
But you're spot on, Jimmy, when you say if you really wanted to make this some type of a no-go, there would be some type of major boycotting of that where no one watches it. But the bottom line is enough people have Peacock, enough sports fans by now have Peacock, and will because of college football as well with the direction it's going.
Yeah.
So they're going to have plenty of people that are either already having it, going to watch, or are going to now be Peacock subscribers.
Say out in Pac-12 country, see, streaming's not so bad.
Right. Yeah, that's, the fact that the NFL can do that because you will.
The Twitter overreaction was interesting, and I get it. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. A lot of people said that that's it. That's going to be, I won't be watching, and this is going to be the beginning of the end for the NFL. And NFL to pay-per-view is coming, which in a lot of ways that's what this is.
Yeah.
But then I think, but enough people aren't going to. And I just thought, I thought of Gary. It's like, what he would say, and that they're still going to watch.
Right.
We talked about this with the Amazon Prime and all the issues that happen. You're still going to end up watching badass football games like the Commies and the Bears. You're still watching the Colts and the Broncos. And it comes back to, and I want to say what he said, and this was in the fall, obviously before you got here, but he said, is the NFL too big to fail? And that's where it's at.
Yeah. But they can experiment in all of these different ways and these different platforms on how people
I don't like
view their
it,
product.
But
right, because I get that. I'm a fan of traditional viewing. Like, I want to make sure that I know that I can still get games on CBS, NBC, Fox.
I mean, I don't like all the Thursday
games.
games and the loud uniforms, and I could just get on my soapbox and get off my lawn. And I miss the we've watered down Sundays.
Yeah.
To where Sunday, it's like, that's all the games we have. Yeah, because you're diluting it with all these games on all these different days, and then you end up doing away with the good Thursday college football games. And I'm just, I'm a curmudgeon. So
yeah, you are. I'm starting to learn that, man.
The youngest person on this show is the most curmudgeon-y.
I was actually really happy for NBC, and now you're just making me feel like I should have angst towards them too.
Yeah, in Chicago,
they'll blow it in the ninth. The thing that I really do appreciate with the NFL in this whole ordeal, though, this is something that I wish Major League Baseball, and I get it, the popularity of the two right now are not even comparable. But I'll just say this, that Major League Baseball is doing similar things when it comes to, you get the YouTube game, you get They have some Amazon games, don't they? Or no, the Apple TV.
Oh, yeah.
They did the Apple TV one. So they're
they're
doing that with the hopes that they're going to reach all kinds of different audiences, from the generation that does largely depend on streaming services to take in live television to more of your traditional viewers. See, to me, that makes sense for the NFL because you already have a global fan base, but especially here in the States, you have a monster following. Major League Baseball, as much as we wish they did, they don't quite have that. So as much as I thought, what are you doing, Major League Baseball? Because you're not there yet in trying to reach all types of mediums when it comes to getting your product out there. You're just not there yet, that I wish you'd put more into sort of the core viewership that you currently have. And then once you start to see those numbers soar, then you can branch out. This to me makes sense for the NFL. First of all, from a revenue standpoint, you're pulling it in.
I sound like I'm playing both sides here. I'm trying to understand all the sides, and the other side of what I was saying is, well, they're having to think next level, thinking of the future and how we're going to consume things
and trying to stay steps ahead of it.
And that's part of the reason why, not trying to hijack it into the NBA, but with the NBA TV contract coming up, they're expected to do some different things because the NBA is not happy that it's become so, it's ironic, it's become so cable reliant, in that they're wanting some more games back on network TV because you have people who have cut the cord so that you're able to stream the games, but you're also able to watch on over-the-air TV. So you kind of see the thinking, and then you kind of take a step back. The streaming thing is just becoming 10, 20 years. It's just going to become commonplace.
It is. I mean, that's going to be the new cable. That's going to be the way that you consume sports. I mean, we're seeing a huge push for it in college football. We already have, and we will continue to, especially, and as it impacts Nebraska and as it impacts the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is in bed with NBC. NBC is, yes, they're going to be using the NBC network for primetime games. As we told you, the Michigan State-Ohio State game has already been announced as a primetime game in November. But you're going to see Peacock games. You're going to see that type of access when it comes to Big Ten, where if you're not a Peacock subscriber, well, you better become one, because if you are a fan of the team or that, you're going to games. And that'll be the only way that you can watch that. I would be very surprised that even if Nebraska was playing, say if they're picked for the Peacock exclusive game, that since Nebraska's playing, that our NBC affiliate would also have it. Like you're hearing about in this playoff game, where the two teams in their markets will have it on NBC, but out of those markets, it'll be Peacock exclusive. I would not think that will be the same case for college football. So what I'm getting at is, this is the direction it's going, and it's not going to stop because there's so much money at stake there. That it's just how you are going to consume sports. But for me, again, I don't get as riled up about the NFL doing this just because the NFL has the type of reach it does. It still does kind of piss me off that Major League Baseball does that, or is at least attempting to do that, for the simple fact that they're trying to reach different audiences. I just don't think they have a built-up audience enough to where you can start doing that and take it away. Again, as I said, the core viewership, which is how you continue to view it on the networks. I'm not a fan of Major League Baseball doing that yet, until they start becoming the monster that the NFL is, and they're never going to be, not at the level that the NFL is. But I just think it's good to have some NBC stock these days. Yes. If you are a stockholder, I think you're happy about that, because they are taking a big bite out of the sports market and ways to view all the sports. And even Steve, and I know that there are a lot of people that are EPL fans that love watching the Premier League. And look, that's Peacock, man. You're getting that on NBC and Peacock. As Steve mentions, that's the only reason to have Peacock. I'm not an EPL guy. I don't watch Premier League soccer, but I know a lot of people who do. And you talk about a global reach. Well, there you go. So yeah, NBC, man, making moves. All right, when we come back, I mentioned there is a NFL player who is not currently active, but did hint, because of the excitement of Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback for the New York Jets, that he would love to come back into the NFL and join Aaron Rodgers. And he would be open to playing a different position than what you know him for. Who is that guy? We'll tell you about that. Also got Brian Christopherson, more on the Dylan Raiola commitment to Georgia, where Nebraska goes from there. All of that still ahead here on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
The Blue Jay Zone is brought to you by Barry Law. We're in it to win it. The road to the postseason is proving to be a rather rocky one for the Creighton baseball team. Back-to-back weekend sweeps by Xavier and Seton Hall have put the Jays on the edge of not making the conference tournament. And CU has to finish at home against top 10-rated UConn, a team fighting for an NCAA regional hosting opportunity. Should the Jays make the conference tournament, they could be rematched right away with the Huskies in the first round. Coverage of Blue Jay baseball can be heard this week and hopefully next on 1180 The Zone.
Winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Barry Law today. 402-999-7777.
Hi, this is Kathy Kenoyer with Kenoyer Garden Center. The beauty and color of spring is in our greenhouse, featuring thousands of gorgeous hanging baskets and hundreds of varieties of Kenoyer grown product. Come in and talk with our family of employees who will help you find what you're looking for. Whether it's home decor, annuals, perennials, shrubs, tropicals, or vegetables, we have it all. Kenoyer Garden Center is located between Highway 370 and Cornhusker on 66th Street in Papillion. Open daily, 9 to 7.
At Kenoyer Garden Center, everybody's got a green thumb.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but costs as low as $3 per dose? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at just $3 per dose. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but only $3 per dose. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Your exclusive home for Royals baseball in Omaha.
Right up the middle base hit, and the Royals are a winner.
1620 The Zone.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, Brian Christopherson going to be joining us in just about 5 minutes. Good mornings with Sharp and Handley. We'll talk more about the impact of the official news of Dylan Raiola. I say official because I think we all just kind of knew. It was maybe at one point the worst kept secret. Even then, all of a sudden they're dangling a little bit of the hey, there could be a June visit. But either way, we'll get into Brian's thoughts on that, the recruiting of the quarterback position under Matt Rule, how that looks. That and more topics with BC coming up in about 5 minutes. So yesterday, during a podcast, it just seems like good things come out of podcasts, especially when it involves some very loud personalities. Aaron Rodgers, the impact of him in New York. It's
a Pat McAfee day.
Although this wasn't on Pat McAfee show. This is on the I Am Athlete podcast. That there was one gentleman in particular who was on the podcast, the I Am Athlete podcast, that said he would be willing to join the New York Jets and hook up with Aaron Rodgers as a teammate, and would even be willing to change positions from wide receiver to tight end. And that former player is Brandon Marshall. Marshall said that he's willing to come out of retirement and play tight end. This is a little bit of what he said. He said, here's why I'll be ready. If I get the ball to come back as a New York Jet at tight end, is because we're going to win the Super Bowl and I'm going to help participate. I'm going to be able to contribute at a high level, and this is what I'm going to give you. 45 catches throughout the year, 20 to 30 plays a game, and I'm going to give you 8 touchdowns. But then when he was sort of asked about the physical nature of the game, and especially at tight end, maybe ramping that up a little bit than what he had a wide receiver, he essentially said, yeah, he wasn't sure how he could even do that before. So maybe he kind of waffled a little bit there. But is this something that let's put it this way. I get it. This is what you want, Brandon. Would this be something that Aaron Rodgers would want? I mean, I'm assuming this was somewhat satirical. I don't think Brandon Marshall, if really, put to the task of, are you serious? Would be like, yeah, 100% I'm serious. I want to play. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, who is already a very large personality, not necessarily like a, sort of in your face, rah-rah type of guy, but just he's got his own things going with his personality.
He's not going to say Jets country, let's ride.
No. Although I wish he would. Would this be a good thing for the New York Jets locker room? Aaron Rodgers and Brandon Marshall. And then Aaron Rodgers, his patience in a Brandon Marshall not only being out of the league for some time, but also trying to learn a new position at the age of 38 years old. Isn't that what Brandon Marshall is, 38?
I think so. Which is the same age as Matt Ryan. Discuss.
Yeah, I just don't think that would be a good fit.
No.
Call me a skeptic.
As a Robert Saleh fan,
yeah,
I don't do this to his team. Give him a chance to build his program.
And I know Brandon Marshall, he's dealt with, I believe, borderline personality disorder. So he does have something, that he kind of has to battle when it does come to his emotions and just what is
he should get into radio.
Well, he does do a lot of podcasting. I mean, that is a mental health issue there. But Brandon Marshall, when you think of the wide receiver diva, this was far before Antonio Brown. Brandon Marshall had a lot of that going on.
That's true. I've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Antonio stole his thunder.
He did. Where you thought, man, Brandon Marshall's name. But this is something from a culture standpoint and from a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who I think has very little patience for things that can be avoided. I don't think that this would go over very well. So naturally, I'd love to see it.
Right, here for chaos. It's not your team.
It's not my team. I already saw Brandon Marshall wreak havoc in the Chicago Bears locker room. So I always like to feel like I'm not alone. And I know in the Broncos, he did that. Other teams, he did that. I would be okay with that. Because it's also part of me where I was victimized by Aaron Rodgers in the Packers for so many years. Yeah, is there part of me that would love to see this Jets thing fail with Aaron Rodgers at the helm? You're damn right there is. And could Brandon Marshall add an element of dysfunction, you're damn right he could. So you know what? Bring it on. I hope he's serious. All right, Brian Christopherson is next.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can't expect a significant slowdown eastbound along I-680 near the ramp from I-80 North and the ramp from I-80 West. Along L Street, be prepared for significant delays from 90th to 108th. And on Center, it looks like there's going to be some significant slowdowns from 183rd to 175th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Les Hills Harley-Davidson.
Come see the toy box at Les Hills Harley-Davidson, overflowing with pre-owned bikes, just waiting for you to saddle up and ride back home. Les Hills Harley-Davidson, I-29 and Highway 34 south of Council Bluffs. Rise up and ride on.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Fun fact, did you know gorillas burp when they're happy? Really? I'm glad humans don't have that issue, as it would create some awkward moments. Dave and Ryan Osted here with Osted's Golf. Looking for your happiness on the course? Book your fitting appointment today with Osted's, the nation's top 100 fitter from Callaway, Ping, Mizuno, and Golf Digest. Why get fit? On average, golfers gain 19 yards off the tee and drop their handicap by 10%. Wow, results like that will make any golfer happy. Stop in today or book your appointment on Osteds.com. All burps will be taken as a compliment.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but costs as low as $3 per dose? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at just $3 per dose. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but only $3 per dose. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Trees, are they all the same? Not at Lanahaw. Grown from a quality seed source, handcrafted in our local farms for generations, and acclimated to our tough Midwestern climate, Lanahaw's trees are different. Simply put, they're better. Much like our trees, we take great pride in being homegrown. Visit our garden center to find your next tree today. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hour 4 mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com, where you can see what we're up to. Us knuckleheads.
That's your kind of thing.
Yeah. You like to watch. Hey, some people do like to watch. Some people do. Voyeurs, I believe.
All right, kids are in school now.
You know what
We're on the
don't-
way to the truck.
You know what I don't like watching is we bring in our next guest, Brian Christopherson. His twins' new uniforms. Not your twins, like, not your kids. But your the team you root for, everyone knows Brian Christopherson is a big Vikings and Twins fan. I tried, Brian. I tried. I just don't like the Viking. I don't like the Twins uniforms, man. Call me old fashioned. I don't like them.
No, that's fine. Their road hats stink.
Yes, they're like the Marlins.
Yeah, that's what everyone says, and I can see it. But it's supposed to be a takeoff. You know, the Twins came out of Washington. They were originally the Washington Club, and so it's supposed to be the W is it's supposed to be the same thing, just upside down. Now it's an M. That's like part of it, but yeah. So if that helps move you like 2% toward like, okay, it's all right, but I don't like it either. I will say their actual what they wear on their bodies. I like the pants at home, and I like their jerseys. So they got most of it right. Their new hats are fine at home, but man, the road hats, you're right, they stink. But let's really talk about what's important here. And it's last night, Phil Cuzzy's the umpire behind home plate, and just botched his 2 strike calls with the game on the line in extra innings against the Dodgers. And I'm not bitter about it, but that. You talk about moving the needle for a guy wanting a robot behind the plate. That did it for me last night.
Hey, you walked in the winning run, okay? I don't care how you want to break it down. Throw more strikes. Just throw more strikes. You don't have to worry about that.
We wouldn't have been into that inning if we had a guy who didn't ring our guys up for no reason. But anyway, no one wants to hear about Twins baseball right now. Probably.
I mean, I do. Well, actually, I don't because you're 3 games up on the Cards. So, we'll move on.
It's an AL Central problem.
It is AL Central. Brian, I think you and I can agree, even with your Twins at top, the Central is once again garbage.
Yeah, let's see who can get to 85 wins and have the champagne party in the locker room. That's what it's going to be, it seems like.
And the only champagne they'll have because they ain't winning a damn series, that's for sure. All right, so yesterday, no champagne in Lincoln. It was pretty much a dose of reality, which, look, worst kept secret, we all knew that things had trended in heavy favor of the Georgia Bulldogs in landing Dylan Raiola. So I asked Sam this earlier, and I'd love to get your take on it. More than anything out of the news yesterday that Dylan Raiola has indeed committed to Georgia and not Nebraska, what did you take away from this coaching staff and their efforts and just overall maybe what could be in the future on how they go after some big fish like Dylan Raiola?
Well, that they're going to take those big swings and they're going to put a lot of energy into it. I mean, they sent their entire staff out there one time to meet with the Raiolas, and clearly, I think they had a really good recruiting effort for them. Sometimes you can recruit really well and still finish second or third. That's just the way it goes, especially when you're going up against the biggest dogs in college football. So, Lincoln Riley's on the wrong end of this one, and he's coached how many Heisman winners already. Right. So sometimes you got to go back to this one had a lot of teeter-totter to it. There were times when I honestly thought for a few weeks, like Nebraska in my head was sort of a favorite. Mm-hmm. And then there were times when you were hearing USC was the favorite. But you're right, the last couple of months it became clear it was sort of settling back on Georgia. And when you step away from it, Georgia was the first school that offered him way back when. So he had a pretty deep connection with Kirby Smart. I mean, we're talking a couple of years worth there. And Mike Bobo did a really nice job. I mean, he hit it off with him, and he calls Matthew Stafford, former Georgia Bulldog QB, Uncle Matthew. Matthew played, with the QB taking snaps from his dad for all those years with the Detroit Lions. And so I should think, when you added it all up, yes, he'd had connections to Nebraska, but by the end of it, his connections to Georgia down in Athens were probably just as much in some ways, because he had people like he considered like family there. So it was a tough fight for Nebraska all the way, but they fought a good fight, and you never know what's going to come around in college football anymore. I'm not making any predictions about transfers or anything, but you get, if you lose in situations like this, you take the high road. You say, we wish you well. Hope you have a great career there, but you never know where things may lead, right? I mean, that's just the way we are now, or the way it is now.
It was one of the thoughts that I came away with yesterday too, Brian, and that was, okay, you didn't get him. compared to Georgia, what they are able to offer when it comes to, the track record to the NFL, national championships, playing in the SEC. You mentioned Lincoln Riley, what he has done at the quarterback position, guys holding up hardware at the end of the year, guys getting drafted and making big money. Nebraska doesn't have any of that history right now. Yet I'm with you. I felt like they made a strong impression that if there's any bounce back opportunity from guys in the transfer portal, that you have made a strong connection. It made me think, not to the level of winning national championships, but what could this do for Nebraska when it comes to recruiting similar types of players if they are able to simply put together a couple of 7-win seasons early in the Matt Rule tenure?
You nailed it. I mean, that's the thing that Nebraska didn't have to put out there in front of, or doesn't in this cycle. It's like Matt Rule can talk about what he did at Temple and Baylor, but the kids that are being recruited specifically to Nebraska, it's going to make a big difference. Even if this team does go 7-5 this year, there's going to be people looking, man, they made making a 3-win jump or a 2-win jump right away, and then they make another 2-year jump the next year. I see where this is headed. He's done this at multiple spots, and he's doing it again. But you have that right in front of their eyes right now, and so that's why the start to the season is important. It's not going to make or break the whole tenure by any means, but if you go out and you do play well on the road those first couple of games even, and sort of get a little buzz going about your program, that can be pretty important for this cycle. But yeah, that in the next year or two, that's going to be the most important thing, and it's going to be especially important locally because it has been tougher to recruit around this state, I think, sometimes, or in the Omaha area, because kids are around. They hear the radio airwaves and us talk all the time, and Nebraska hasn't been good, So I mean, they hear all that stuff, and it's going to take somebody actually winning some ball games down there, where it's like, oh yeah, that's a program that plays in big games. That's a team that I heard you talking about, like games on the Peacock Network or playing like on NBC in prime time. That's a team that not only plays there, but competes well under the lights, and I'm going to be in those settings. You think about it, Nebraska hasn't competed well in those spots lately. So any kid who's of a certain age doesn't remember Nebraska performing in those games. They do for Georgia and they do for USC. And yeah, that sure as heck makes a big difference, I would think, when a kid is thinking about things. So Rule and this staff, as much as anything, needs time to win games, and they need time where they have a full 2 cycles basically to get ahead with some of these recruits, because even in the next cycle, they'll be playing slightly from behind. I mentioned that Kirby Smart and Georgia offered Raiola a couple of years ago. That's a relationship that goes back, 2 or 3 years. That's the type of long-term connections Nebraska needs with these recruits in the cycles ahead, where you really have a great chance to land some of these guys.
Talking to Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 Sports here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. So the end-all be-all with this particular position in the first go-round of Matt Rule recruiting for Nebraska, I know they didn't put all their eggs in this basket, but let's be honest, they did maybe drag their feet on some potential other prospects that have now since committed. So how you see it, what is sort of the next step in getting younger in the quarterback room for Nebraska?
Yeah, it's a pretty good question, because you're right. There are some guys who have been whispered about, or you thought, well, they could have been next in line on the board. But, obviously Daniel Kalen's already committed, and it's never over till it's over, but he seemed happy with his choice. And you don't blame him for, wanting to kind of lock up what he's doing. And there was a school that really loved him and had him atop his board, and so he went there. And there was nothing wrong with the way Nebraska played it either. I thought you shot your shot and you didn't get it, and you were honest with Daniel Kalen, I think, through the process. And sometimes it works out that way. Dante Reno's a guy that gets brought up, but he's committed elsewhere at this point. Could he be in play? I guess he's a name you at least think about. They got a young man named Kamari McClellan who's supposed to come in June and throw for the coaches. He's down out of Alabama. So maybe, some wild card like him pops up over the summer months. That's completely possible. It also could work out that they just wait till the portal. I mean, you aren't changing your depth chart at QB for this upcoming season by whether you land a traditional high school recruit in this class, or if in December there's 10 to 15 college quarterbacks on the market who are 20-year-olds who have been around a little bit, and you kind of take your pick there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a possibility as well, if it holds out till December.
With just kind of the camps just around the corner too, as we kind of really, fire through May, I know that, Matt Rule has talked about what he kind of wants to get out of the camps. What have you sort of taken away from the way that they're going to go about their camps and evaluation, especially the in-state products?
I think there's this very seriousness about, they want kids who show up at those things to feel like they're really, really being coached and they're getting a lot out of being there. Even if they don't end up being kids who are offered or whatever, that's a camp where, like, I learned football and I had their attention. Like, this is something where I'm going to tell peers or coaches are going to tell their players, like, yeah, go there. It helps you get better as a football player. So you've heard Rule say it a few times. He wants Nebraska camps to be known as, like, some of the best camps, like the places is people want to show up and learn and talk football, and it's just sort of a gathering spot where that happens. So I think that's the first part, is just making it sort of where you have that buzz surrounding it, where it's like, this wasn't a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of 150 kids there in the back of the line that I didn't get any attention. So I think that's a big deal. Like, even those kids who we don't even talk about, who show up and they spend a day or two with it and their family's there and it's really important to them. You got to make those experiences worthwhile for them, because that all matters towards everything. I mean, it matters just because it's the right thing to do for those kids, but it also matters in that gets back to other people that this is a place where you should go, and they'll treat you right, and they're going to talk football in the way you want to talk about it, and everybody's going to get to learn. And so I think that's the biggest thing they want to get in June.
And I did want to ask you about this one. It was interesting. We were talking to Matt Virzel on Friday, and we were trying to figure out if Barrett Liebentritt was still at Notre Dame, and we kind of found out that he was in the transfer portal, and then we find out that he's walking on to Nebraska. He's going to play fullback, and it made me wonder, just with the very small glimpse of how Nebraska kind of wants to utilize sort of the fullback or hybrid position on – and knowing that Liebentritt is going to be playing that position, or that's what he's, walking on to play, how they're going to go about sort of recruiting that sort of hybrid position that we've kind of seen Janier and Bonner look like he could be a great fit for. Does that kind of open up the door to some real interesting athletic type of players, or maybe more of recruiting the athlete, that's where we eventually could see them playing?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a position where you can go with a lot of different body types too. You can work your way from like 195 to 240. Like right now, I think Bonner's like 220s or something like that. But you can also stack up like a big, 235, 240 pound guy who could almost be like a Mike linebacker, but he can also be sort of a bull running the football or blocking and stuff like that. Liebentritt might be a little bit different, make and model than Bonner, but that's what is cool about the position is you can, I think there's a place for like 3 or 4 different types, to be involved in it, and to have a niche in the offense. And so I feel good for guys like for Liebentritt, who was coming out of Scott, and he wanted to play fullback, but it had kind of gone away. It wasn't just Scott Frost's staff. There just weren't a lot of places that were offering it up. So he got an opportunity to sort of do other things at Notre Dame, and he got on the field as a special teams guy. And now he hears this talk from Rule and Satterfield about more of a traditional style offense, and there is mention of the fullback, and he always grew up a Husker fan, and it's just like the perfect timing with the system now that fits him, and he can make a fight of it for some playing time, although there's going to be like 5 or 6 guys. There's some guys, Landon Turner who's competing at the state track meet from Columbus Lakeview. Like, he's an interesting guy, like that could come in at that position. Trevor Ruth and guys like that. So It should be a pretty. They're going to have some guys to pick from there. Let's say that.
Brian, will wrap on this. Just wanted to get your thoughts. We were talking some Twins baseball. How about some Husker baseball? You know what? If I would have told you 2 weeks ago that Nebraska will be able to go into their final regular season series with already a Big Ten spot clinched, I don't know if we would have necessarily believed that, but here they are back in the Big Ten tournament. When you look at the likelihood of them probably finishing somewhere between 4th to 6th, how do you sort of chalk it up considering what we've seen throughout the entire year, both the good and the bad? I mean, do you feel like, hey, this is actually a good thing, or do you feel like, that's bare minimum success?
I think a lot of reaction to it is still pending on how they play in Omaha at that tournament. You know, if they play really well the first couple days and put themselves in the winner's bracket and got people buzzing, like, okay, they're like a win or so from maybe winning this tournament and getting in the NCAA, I think that will sort of change the narrative. I think they really have to do that, though, Nick, to sort of flip what people have thought throughout this season, because I do think going in, I believe, you know, talking to my coworker Bruns, who covers them, that, you know, they believe they were going to be an NCAA tournament team, or that was the goal going into it. So you'd have to say, if that doesn't happen, you didn't hit your bar, you know? So I mean, that's just the bottom line. But it still could happen. And that's what I have been saying on our board is, you know how baseball is. We see this in the majors all the time. Like, look at the team that was in the World Series from the NL last year at the Phillies. I mean, if you had talked about them in like the summer months, they weren't a very interesting baseball team at that point. And they got hot at the right time and completely changed how people talk about that season. So this last weekend was at least a good start, climbing up that ladder and seeing if they can shift how we're speaking about it.
Brian, appreciate you coming on, man. As always, have a great. Now you're got a little vacation coming up too.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. My dad retired last year, and we are taking a trip through the Midwest to play golf courses over the next week. Going up into even Wisconsin and playing like Erin Hills and be around the Whistling Straits course. I don't think we're going to play Whistling Straits, but we're going to play Erin Hills. We're going to play where the John Deere Classic is at, the CCP Deer Run, I guess. So 4 or 5 courses over like 6 days. So you can't, with your dad, can't complain.
That's awesome, man. Enjoy that. We'll look forward to talking to you when you get back, brother.
All right. Thanks a lot.
It's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 Sports. All right. When we return, we mentioned there's going to be a little gathering of some Big Ten athletic directors this week. What might they discuss, Jimmy? What might they discuss other than trying to make sure one another has, what was it, the Billy Bean thing? He needs soda for his guys, and I want some soda. That. He traded a guy for, what do you want, cash consideration soda? I want soda. Yeah. I wonder what else they're talking about. Maybe that schedule. Maybe.
How many teams might be in the league in 5 years?
Yeah. Is Notre Dame.
They're just going to stream every game.
Notre Dame running out of demands. We'll get into all of that here right after the break.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
Want to meet Big Milk Kids?
Hello, kids. Yeah. Let me walk you around the website. Some people call them podcasts, but we call them radio replays. Why? Because when you listen or watch 1620 The Zone, it's always AM radio.
Thank you, Big Milk. Thank you, Big Milk.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, the Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P, 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Knoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Beautiful weather on the way Tuesday. We'll start off with cloudy skies, then clearing as we head through the late morning. The afternoon, expect sunny and pleasant conditions with highs in the upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Shop Woodhouse Buick GMC first and experience the difference. A large indoor showroom, 119th and I. You can shop during all kinds of weather conditions. You'll find a wide variety of new and pre-owned inventory, from stylish SUVs to the capable trucks that'll get the job done for business or for pleasure. And right now, you can find yourself behind the wheel of a 2023 Buick Encore GX Preferred. The 5-person SUV is ready to reward you with boldly sports touring. They've got technology and connectivity and the power to get ahead safely with confidence. You can lease it right now for $299 a month for 39 months with 10,000 miles per year. With approved credit, and you have a current GMC or Buick lease, $999 down payment, first payment, and $299 doc fee due at signing. The offer expires on May 31st. A great offer on a fantastic SUV. Woodhouse Buick GMC definitely has something for everyone. Car buying simplified online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com or in the indoor showroom at 119th and I, where you can shop in all kinds of weather. Online anytime, WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is and has always been locally owned and operated. Now, with 160 employee owners, chances are one of us lives in your neighborhood. We take pride in taking care of you, our customers, and keeping you comfortable all year round. And as always, our technicians don't have sales quotas. When other companies send salespeople, Standard sends qualified technicians. It's just part of.
Carrier, turn to the experts.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
72 Table and Tap hits the spot for creative food, craft beer, and bourbon. Also serving salads, tasty bar food, flatbread, pizza, sandwiches, and desserts. Eat, drink, gather, and repeat at 72 Table and Tap, located at 72nd and Q. With this week's deal, you'll receive two $25 vouchers of $50 value for just $25. Get all the details at 1620thezone.com. You know, when he brought up robo-umps, this is exactly where my mind went. This is how they should all come out. Can you fly, Bobby?
Can you fly, Bobby? Clarence Bodiger.
Eric Foreman didn't know who he was messing with.
No.
Neither did any of the guys.
But, I mean, old Red was... Red was...
He was crotcheting his own.
He was quite the villain in RoboCop.
He was a really good villain.
He was a very good villain. Like, he just wanted all of the bad things that could happen to a villain happen to Red Foreman.
You know, they told Murphy not to go in there, but he F8 FO'd.
He did. He tried to be a cowboy.
And then he became a robot.
But again, okay, his partner, where the heck was she at? Like, she saw
She
what was
wanted to
going on.
live.
But come
You
on.
don't want any Clarence Boddicker.
Jeez.
Who knew Dick Jones?
Maybe fire off a warning shot or something. What was she doing? She was a spectator as her partner is being dismembered, yet it was the final shot to the head.
My name is Murphy.
RoboCop.
Yeah, great movie. Two's
I
less
killed
good.
Bob Morton because he made a mistake. Now it's time to erase that mistake. I could RoboCop with you all day long. I don't think the Big Ten athletic directors are probably quoting RoboCop in Rosemont, Illinois, in day 2 of the athletic director meetings which are going on. What we can assume is taking place is that the athletic directors are saying bon voyage to the divisions. Would you say the likelihood of that is strong?
Yes.
I would as well. But more importantly, what are the league's 2024 scheduling model going to look like? And I know, and we're probably going to talk to him next week when we talk a little bit of Iowa football as well in our 2023 Nebraska opponent post-spring breakdowns. But Scott Docterman is all over this too, and he's covering it for The Athletic. And this is something that I think there's a lot of, and according to Scott Docterman too, talking to various athletic directors, there's a lot of different sort of iterations of how they want to go about that scheduling model. And I think we've all sort of assumed that it would be sort of a, you'd have the 3 protected rivalries, and then you would play the rest of your conference schedule in sort of a rotating fashion. And I remember last year talking to Trev Alberts about this. And I sort of teed that one up to him, and he did not take it. He was not quick to say, yeah, that could be, or yeah, there's a good chance that could be the model. Like he really kind of pushed back on it. And I don't know if that's something that maybe some of the other athletic directors have been for and others have not. I don't know necessarily where Trev would like to see sort of that schedule model as you bring in USC and UCLA. But it does seem like the one thing we know, it seems like the majority of the athletic directors definitely want to do away with 2 divisions and that whole structure. And especially if you're in the Big Ten East, because you feel like, hey, there's been times you've been the second, a lot of times have been the second best team in the entire conference, yet unfortunately you lost to the best team, which also resides in your division, so you are not playing for a conference championship, where you're trying to pit the 2 very best teams, even if it means there is a repeat of a matchup in the conference championship. But what it does seem like with the numbers, that there would be 3 permanent protected matchups with then games against 6 of the remaining teams of the 12 Big Ten opponents. You would do that 1 year and then the other 6 the next. Every 4 years, each team would maybe play 3 teams 4 times and the remaining 12 teams twice. Or, Jimmy, you could protect 2. You could do 2 permanent protected matchups, play 4 times over 4 years. Over the course of 4 years, each Big Ten team would play the remaining league opponents at least twice, at 2 of those teams 3 times. Or there could be a hybrid, a flex protect, where, as Scott Docterman lays out, a hybrid model in which each Big Ten team has 1, 2, or 3 protected opponents. And this format would allow schedule makers the most flexibility in terms of competitive balance, home and away, rotations, and the specific challenges around West Coast travel when it comes to USC and UCLA. Again, the Protect 3 model would make the most sense. So I think that Flex one is interesting, but the Protect 3 seems to me to make the most sense. So in Nebraska, which is in a peculiar position, because until USC and UCLA are officially competing in the Big Ten, who's the San Diego of the Big Ten? Nebraska.
And with global warming, sometimes you do get days in November that rival it.
Hey, sometimes in February, it's happened.
Yeah.
But is this all going to be geographical? That's the question, because I think that's the one thing that everybody assumes, that if we're doing this sort of Protect 3 model, that it would be somewhat geographical, where Nebraska would get at least one of the West Coast teams, either USC or UCLA. And then they would get, say, an Iowa and a maybe Minnesota or maybe a Northwestern. I have no problem with that. The only thing that at first when this came out is people were talking about, hey, Nebraska can get both USC and UCLA. You can't do that. You just can't do that, because that all of a sudden starts stoking the fire of the Nebraska conspiracy theories again. And that is a time that I would actually sort of buy into it. Because the West Coast travel, even for Nebraska, as Western as Nebraska is, which sounds funny, that would be pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's a long flight.
It is. And to ask them, there could be years where Nebraska has to do it twice. Like, you just, no. So it's going to be one of the California teams. I feel confident that would be in Nebraska's schedule model, however it is. But when it comes to the other two, I think Iowa's a no-brainer. I feel like that has to be. But I'm not convinced that it would have to be Minnesota or it'd have to be Northwestern, and I've even seen some people float out Wisconsin. I think Minnesota and Nebraska can begin to form I think it's already sort of a budding rivalry. Now, Minnesota obviously has their rivalry with Iowa and Wisconsin, but for Nebraska,
they have a pig.
They do have a pig. There's a pig, and then there's an axe. There's stuff on the line.
You need an animal here. This was a conversation we had in November.
An axe and a pig. Oh, that sounds.
No. We're not butchering the pig.
Okay.
No, you're getting your own animal.
Get your own animal, or get your own axe. Get your own weapon. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
I personally would like to see Minnesota, Nebraska, but for the sake of where teams might fall in the pecking order, would you hate having Northwestern every year? Especially, let's say if you got USC. What if you had USC, Iowa? I'm thinking I'd want Northwestern over Minnesota.
You could have a ceremonial onside kick every year before the game.
Yeah, there we go. Everybody could wear their nod to Ireland.
Yeah.
This is just
play that
pure
damn
selfish.
song.
I know I should never doubt Pat Fitzgerald, but given the trajectory of the programs right now, I have a lot more confidence in PJ Fleck in Minnesota where they're going than I do with Pat Fitzgerald in Northwestern. And I get it. They're the kings of the bounce back.
You'd probably say that's fair.
They've had two really bad years. And as divisions go away, Jimmy, is Northwestern in a position where they can pivot to play an entire Big Ten schedule and not just learn how, and give them credit, win the division, which they have done before? Can they put themselves in a top 5 showing in the Big Ten in its entirety? I don't think they're there. I think Minnesota would have a better shot at doing that than Northwestern. So from a peer standpoint of I'd like the easier opponent, especially if Nebraska got USC and Iowa, yes, I'd rather have Northwestern. Because think of it, if it was USC, Minnesota, and Iowa, sheesh.
It'd be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, we get clarity, though.
And once again, how many teams will be in the league by the time this all happens?
Well, that's the other question, too, that
I know what's going on in the ACC.
Yes.
Obviously, the Pac-12. And then
I don't think that's getting enough of the headlines.
Nothing happening.
But I guarantee you there's discussions, especially now with the new Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti. I would assume that a lot of athletic directors are saying, okay, once they kind of get an idea of where they want to be with scheduling, hey, Tony, what's your vision of Big Ten expansion? Where are we at? What about those folks in South Bend, Indiana, that continue to really hold the feet to the fire when it comes to NBC and saying, hey, we want our $75 million. And now that their Under Armour contract has run out too, is it becoming more and more likely that the Big Ten and Notre Dame could have a happy marriage after all? And that they could provide
the network says you want your $75 million. Yeah. Well, we have a way you can go do that.
Exactly. So that's happening at the Big Ten meetings in Rosemont, Illinois.
So if you thought it was going to be boring this summer,
yeah,
just good for what we do.
It is, especially with
because otherwise you're going right after CWS. You're going to all right. What's your favorite walk-up song? Oh, it must be summer.
Well, especially with the removal of divisions, too. It actually does lead to a very interesting model that the Big Ten is going to have with 2 new additions in the conference. I for one, am curious because I know a lot of people are...
What did Gary say last week? This coming football season seems like kind of a last dance.
Yeah, the last dance. Yeah,
this is continuing that.
Another example, yeah. I would agree. All right, going to come back, wrap up the show, get you set for the crossover as well here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Can I take your order?
Can I get a small chicken sandwich meal?
Sorry, we only sell jumbo meals. Same size for everyone. Sometimes one size fits all isn't right for you. Same goes for your mobile plan. At Cox Mobile, get what you actually need and start saving with the right data plan. If your needs change, switch between plans at any time. Now that's something different.
Thanks. I think I'll go get something different.
Cox Mobile. We're different because you're different. Visit cox.com/mobile to learn more. Postpaid Cox internet required. Other restrictions apply.
Did you know the Salvation Army has thrift stores conveniently located around the Omaha metro area, and each one has bargains you won't find anywhere else? Come in today for deals on clothing, accessories, furniture, kitchenware, and more. Stop by, get a great deal, and make a big difference for people in need. For a list of store locations, just go to salarmyomaha.org. That's salarmyomaha.org. Thanks for your support.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. Choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now try Babbel for free by texting radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000. That's RADIO to 64,000.
You could throw your flip-flop at a bug.
Ew, a bug, get it.
But the chances of actually hitting it
Over there.
are statistically
It's still alive.
unlikely. Good thing nature's got your back. Stem bug killers combine powerful active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and geraniol and scientifically engineer them into effective bug-fighting formulas, safe for use as directed around people, pets, and throughout the home. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Coming up, we got the crossover, the Connor Happer Show with Josh in moments. So speaking of those guys, during the crossover last...
We work with them.
Was it Monday? Friday. On Friday. We got into the conversation of the 32 quarterbacks and even beyond, even throwing some backups, of what quarterbacks in the NFL would be considered a good hang. Meaning, you
could go drink sodas with.
Yeah, he could have a couple of plops. And we had, again, we're probably way off on this. We had some guys that we figured, for instance, I said Tua Tagovailoa would not be a very good hang because I feel like he'd be at your table, but he'd be on his phone the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just feel like he'd be sort of disconnected from the group.
I just thought he'd be boring.
Yeah, kind of that way.
Doesn't mean he's a bad guy.
No, just he wouldn't be very engaging. We got into a lot of the different
want to
quarterbacks.
watch Game Show Network? What?
Yeah, like, hey, Tua, you good, man? Oh, yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, I've got something going on over here. We said Joe Burrow would probably be okay. Danny Dimes, no. Jalen Hurts would be a decent hang, yet
he seems like a good dude.
He'd be very sort of guarded, but yeah, and probably be a good guy to have around.
You won't get into any stuff.
Yeah, but you
have a nice time.
There's a good presence there. We thought Lamar could be kind of funny, kind of good to have around. I said Justin Fields, as much as it pains me, I don't know if he'd be the greatest hang.
He's no Mike Tomczak.
Nope, or the punky QB.
Yeah.
Who is, though? Jared Goff, not so much. Kirk Cousins, no. So we came to the conclusion. Oh, and by the way, Russell Wilson would be try too hard guy, where he would.
I'm shocked.
This was my example of Russell Wilson. Like, if we were out and you ordered an IPA and you just made the comment, you're like, oh man, I love a good IPA. I'm going to get that. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson would be obsessed with trying to find a really cool IPA and just really wanting to talk your ear off about IPAs.
Read about it on Tap.
Yes. And then somehow he would talk about, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about maybe I'm going to open up a brewery and not have an IPA. Would you like drink my IPAs? Like it would be the moment where you have to be like, Russ, dude, just chill out. let's just hang out, man. You
It's just
don't
the
have
first
to
beer I
impress
saw,
everybody.
man.
Yeah.
It's either this or a White Claw.
That would be Russell, where you're just exhausted. That would be Russ. So we came to the conclusion.
They'd be hanging out with him for his wife.
Well, that too. That Josh Allen seems like he'd be the best hang.
Absolutely.
He's the guy that
I think Burrow would be too.
I think Burrow would be too. And it furthers our point
Mahomes
yesterday.
would be okay if he leaves his wife and brother at home, brings Kelsey instead, because we know Kelsey would be a great time.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Pat, you can come out, but please leave Brittany at home. Just
bring
please.
Travis. He's fun. He opens a tap.
He'll be all right. And yes, you're not going to pay for a drink. But Josh Allen does Josh Allen not come across as the guy that, first of all,
The dude.
he's hitting bombs both in softball and now in baseball, just dropping bombs. But he's also the type of guy that you're hanging out. He's giving you some stories. He's fun, but sign of a good dude. As he's going to the bathroom or he's getting up, getting something. Y'all need anything while I'm up? Like he's thinking
But like
of you.
that girl in the commercial with all the beers. And
Yeah.
just
Oh, he's thinking of you. He's making sure you're in. And yesterday,
you hungry? You want some nachos? Huh?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm thinking about actually ordering the food. Anybody want in on this? I got you, but I want to get some food. But you or the food comes like, hey, by the way, guys, dig in. I ain't gonna eat all this.
Yeah.
Like that just seems like Josh Allen. Regardless of if he's hitting home runs in BP yesterday like he was, or cranking softballs out of ballparks without the snow fence having to be the home run. Like he just seems like he would be a good hang. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of all of them?
Yeah. That's Josh Allen and Burrow.
I don't think Justin Herbert would be a great hang. We did think we thought Carr would be good. Carr would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to going up and down the divisions here.
You know who we said would be a great hang? Because he would just be very energetic, but really funny. Jameis Winston.
Oh, yeah. I've seen what he's done in cafeterias.
As long as he has.
He said what?
Yeah, that's right. He told people where to touch things.
We've all had that friend that's.
Yep. He did. He's just sort of as long as he's keeping things appropriate with Uber drivers. He would be kind of fun.
Advice for everybody.
It is. It is. I think he'd be a lot of fun. So
I'll
yeah,
end up on the Twitter.
But Josh Allen added to that. Added to our point by cranking out no doubt home runs in BP yesterday. But also, we were very convinced that he would also probably everybody who is with
swell dude.
He got beers for. Said, "All right, guys. This round's on me," and then before you know it, he's just going back and getting all the rounds.
There's like stacks of cups.
Josh, I owe you one, man. Oh no, you're good. Well, he's a guy like, you get me next time.
Then somebody ends up like that dude at the Brewers game in the concourse.
Yeah, as long as he's not peeing in the middle of the concourse and having zero clue that he's actually in the concourse, not in the men's bathroom.
It's a lot of Miller Lite.
That is. All right, good stuff today. Connor Happer Show coming up here in just a moment. We'll have our crossover. Big thanks to Sam McEwen, also Eddie Carifio. Eddie Carifio and Brian Christopherson. Radio replay always up if you missed anything today on Make Peace with Dylan Riola Decision Day. That's where we are. Tomorrow,
moving on.
Yes, we are. Tomorrow we're going to talk some golf major because we got the PGA Championship coming up. Matt Rudy of Golf Digest will join us tomorrow. Also going to continue our 2023 Nebraska opponent post-spring.
Get your khakis and your tucked-in sweatshirt ready.
That's right. Going to talk some Michigan tomorrow. That and much more we look forward to talking to you at 6 a.m. For Jimmy, I'm Nick. You've been listening to Mornings with Sharp and Handley here on 1620.